She was the Grand Tutor's eldest granddaughter, and her fiancé was the future emperor. But she deliberately fled the marriage to wed a ruthless, demonic killer. This was because in her past life, she had misplaced her trust, using all her family's power to help the third prince seize military power and ascend to his position. Yet, after he had succeeded, she was framed, and her entire clan was executed. In her immense grief, she bashed her head against the execution platform and died. But the next second she opened her eyes, she found herself dressed in a red wedding gown, sitting in her boudoir. It turned out she had been reborn 5 years in the past, on her wedding day. However, the third prince's wedding procession was already approaching the main gate. The auspicious time had arrived, amidst the sound of gongs, drums, and firecrackers, with a great red bridal sedan chair waiting for the beautiful bride in a scene of joyous celebration. The third prince, riding a tall horse, arrived at the Feng Manor's gate and shouted, "I, the prince, have come to escort the bride." Hearing this, her head maid, Ruoxue, quickly placed the red bridal veil over her mistress. With a happy expression, she said, "My lady, once you get into the sedan chair and complete the wedding ceremony, you will be the most envied princess in all of southern Chu." A chill ran through Feng Yingxuang's heart. The most envied? The beginning of all her suffering started today. She tightly gripped the corner of her clothes. In this life, I, Feng Yingxuang, will change my own destiny. After she finished dressing as required, she followed her maid to the front hall. The third prince, Nan Yutian, extended his sinful hands with a look of deep affection and said, "You are so beautiful. I have waited for this day for a very, very long time." Feng Yingxuang looked at his disgusting face. Silently, she gripped the dagger hidden in her sleeve. "Nan Yutian, I really want to kill you." This thought instantly jolted Feng Yingxuang back to her senses. She hastily put away the dagger and reluctantly got into the sedan chair. Assassinating him in public would be the most foolish act, as it would undoubtedly implicate the entire Feng clan. I'll wait for the wedding night and act when the opportunity arises. The wedding procession moved grandly through the streets, but a fierce wind began to howl, and the rain grew heavier and heavier. Seeing the groom and the dowry getting soaked in the rain, the third prince, Nan Yutian, was clearly displeased. They quickly found a temple to take shelter. Feng Yingxuang stepped out of the sedan chair with her maid's help. Nan Yutian immediately ran over, feigning concern. "Shuanger, you've been wronged. Let's take shelter for a while before we continue. There is another bride in the temple. With men and women present, it's inconvenient for me to go inside. I'll wait for you here." Feng Yingxuang did not refuse and walked inside. A maid beside her explained, "The bride inside is the new princess of King Qingping. Rumor has it that King Qingping is a ruthless demon who has already tortured 6 princesses to death. No one in the capital is willing to marry him anymore." As she spoke, with a thud, the bride in the wedding dress up ahead kicked away the round stool beneath her feet, trying to hang herself. 2 girls, both getting married on the same day. One was preparing to assassinate her husband. The other was attempting suicide. The eldest young lady of the Feng Manor, Feng Yingxuang, quickly rescued the suicidal Miss Shun. It turned out that this Miss Shun was terrified of marrying into the treacherous den of King Qingping's manor, which led her to thoughts of suicide. Rumor has it that King Qingping is a ruthless demon. Meanwhile, the third prince, Nan Yutian, had a good reputation. Feng Yingxuang had a flash of inspiration and proposed that the woman switch sedan chairs with her. This way, she could also escape the third prince. The woman was extremely grateful upon hearing this and tearfully agreed to Feng Yingxuang's proposal. After the rain stopped and the sky cleared, the sound of gongs and drums was deafening. The 2 brides willingly switched sedan chairs and entered their respective wedding halls. A match made in heaven. A beautiful maiden matched with a prince, smiling as they enter the bridal chamber. The sky gradually darkened. The large red wedding candles were burning, brightly illuminating the bridal chamber. The fateful moment had finally arrived. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps came from outside the door. Feng Yingxuang subconsciously tightened her grip on the dagger at her sleeve. The door was pushed open, and a slightly hoarse voice drifted in. "You all may leave. This king will handle it himself." The footsteps grew closer. Feng Yingxuang could already see the embroidered boots beneath the red robe. The man had a tall and slender figure. Although he wore a ferocious-looking mask that obscured his face, His overall aura was excellent, exuding a natural air of dominance and nobility. Just as King Qingping was about to lift her veil, Feng Yingxuang suddenly looked up and stared at the groom. That I am not Miss Shun. I am the granddaughter of Grand Tutor Feng Yingxuang. She thought, everyone knows the name of Grand Tutor Feng. For my grandfather's sake, King Qingping probably won't make things difficult for me. But the man didn't speak for a long time. His deep eyes stared at her intently, making her hair stand on end. Since you have already bowed to heaven and earth with this king and entered the bridal chamber, you are now this king's princess. It doesn't matter that you are Grand Tutor Feng's granddaughter. Even if you're a queen or a princess, you are still my woman. Then, Prince Qingping pushed Feng Yingxuang onto the bed, intending to consummate the marriage. Feng Yingxuang suppressed her inner panic. The intimate proximity made her face flush red. In her frantic struggle, with a clatter, the dagger from Feng Yingxuang's sleeve fell to the ground. Prince Qingping's eyes suddenly turned cold. On our wedding night, is my princess consort planning to assassinate her own husband? Feng Yingxuang immediately collected her thoughts, a charming smile appearing on her face. I was foolish. I had heard some untrue rumors before. Only now do I realize that your highness's martial arts are unparalleled and your military achievements are illustrious, not at all as terrifying as the rumors claim. Prince Qingping chuckled. The rumors weren't entirely wrong. I have indeed been the death of 6 consorts. Feng Yingxuang still deluded herself into thinking she could bargain with the man before her to let her go home. But the man looked at her coldly. It seems you still don't understand my meaning. I've already said it. Since we have already bowed to heaven and earth and entered the bridal chamber, in life you are my person, and in death you are my ghost. If you still lack this understanding, then I can only give you a proper reminder. Feng Yingxuang shivered as Prince Qingping pushed her down beneath him. With a loosening of his sash, the grand red wedding robe instantly fell open. Just as Feng Yingxuang was in despair, a sudden knock came from outside. Your Highness, the third prince has brought people and requests an audience. He says there's been a mistake with the brides and demands to have his consort back immediately. Feng Yingxuang's heart trembled, and her resisting hands instantly went limp. Just as Prince Qingping was about to speak, Feng Yingxuang suddenly covered his mouth. She silently and proactively pressed her red lips to his and reached out to undo his sash. A flicker of confusion passed through Prince Qingping's eyes. Wasn't this woman resisting to the death just a moment ago? Why is she so proactive now? The man did not resist, enjoying her passion. But in his daze, he suddenly noticed a single hot tear slowly falling from the corner of the bride's eye, sliding onto his chest, scalding hot. In her past life, she loved a scoundrel, leading to the annihilation of her family. Reborn, she is determined to make him suffer eternal damnation. On her wedding day, she orchestrated a right groom in the wrong sedan chair plot, only to escape the wolf's den and enter the tiger's lair. The god of war, Prince Qingping, 霸气先逝，进了本王的门，你就是本王的女人，招到了对他的所有权。Later, he said, My dear consort, I do not yet have an heir. The great responsibility of continuing the family line now falls to you. From then on, her back would ache so much every month that she couldn't get out of bed. It was all thanks to this beast. Thus, Prince Qingping and his consort began a collaboration of mutual exploitation. One gambled her innocence to cater to his desires, while the other was completely obedient and endlessly doting. But what was supposed to be a good deal where each got what they wanted? What did the pretense become real in the end? On the second day after the wedding, the scoundrel from her past life, the third prince, knelt in the main hall, crying his eyes out. He demanded to have his consort back. The emperor summoned the 4 concerned parties. Upon entering the palace, the scoundrel saw Feng Yingxuang and immediately grasped her hands. Yingxuang, I have already petitioned Father Emperor to seek justice for you. From now on, I will protect you and never let anyone bully you again. Feng Yingxuang thought contemptuously. Stop with the fake sentimentality. Why didn't you dare to force your way into the bridal chamber yesterday? Wasn't it because you feared the power of Prince Qingping, the god of war? Feng Yingxuang gently pushed away the third prince's hands, putting on a heartbroken expression. Fate is so cruel. I am no longer pure. I am not worthy of the third prince at all. please forget me. This was a fact that Nan Yutian had already learned last night, and he had spent the entire night processing it, accepting it, and turning it into something of value to be exploited. He pointed at Prince Qingping, Junmachin, and asked, "Did he force you?" Feng Shuang quickly explained there was no force involved. The candlelight in the bridal chamber last night was too dim. When Prince Qingping came in, I mistook him for you. It wasn't until this morning that I realized it was the wrong person. Ying Shuang knows she has no face to meet her family. So I came today, first, to tell the truth, and second, with the resolve to die. The third prince, Nan Yutian, was extremely skilled at manipulating people. If pushed, he would surely put on a show of self-pity. Feng Shuang eyed a pillar that didn't look too thick. With a bang, she ran straight into it. Humph, as if I can't act too. The key to acting is to strike first. Her good husband from behind, Prince Qingping, yanked Feng Shuang back. Taking the opportunity, Feng Shuang buried her face in his chest and began to cry loudly, putting on an act of being utterly devastated. But the scumbag, with a sudden burst of courage from who knows where, forcefully pulled Feng Shuang into his embrace. Ordinarily, Nan Yutian would never have dared to oppose Junmachin, but now he couldn't care about anything else. He was already an unfavored prince with no powerful backing. Feng Shuang was his greatest hope for seizing the throne. If he couldn't marry her, all his ambitions and schemes would be crushed before they even began. Consortly, seeing her son so aggrieved, clenched her fists viciously. She threw herself before the emperor, crying, "Your consort adores Ying Shuang, and Yutian doesn't care if she is a virgin or not. I beg your majesty to grant this loving couple their wish." Besides, Miss Shun and Yutian never consummated their marriage. She can very well return to Prince Qingping and hold a new wedding ceremony. There is no loss for her. Feng Shuang looked at Consortly, this woman with a serpent's heart behind a saintly face, and shivered. She could never forget how this former mother-in-law of hers, so sinister and vicious, had repaid her kindness with cruelty after using the Feng family's power, torturing her clansmen to death. Just then, Prince Qingping, who had been standing aside, suddenly spoke up. He asked Feng Shuang if she and Miss Shun had prayed to the Buddha statue while taking shelter from the rain yesterday. After receiving an affirmative answer, Prince Qingping spoke slowly. Years ago, the late empress prayed to the Buddha for blessings on the eve of entering the palace. It was then that she met your majesty, and a beautiful union was formed. The emperor recalled the deep affection he shared with the late empress, and his heart stirred. He said with empathy, "It seems this is truly the work of fate." Yao Yao always used to say that the will of heaven cannot be defied. Seeing that the emperor had no intention of siding with him, the third prince was burning with rage. He knelt before the emperor and declared with deep affection, "Feng Shuang is the love of my life," weeping as he begged his father emperor to grant his wish. Seeing the emperor's continued hesitation, the hall fell into a deathly silence. The third prince suddenly pulled a dagger from his sleeve. He plunged it into his own chest. Fresh blood instantly stained his robes. Everyone was stunned. Feng Shuang, especially, was too shocked to react. To achieve his goal, the third prince would even harm himself. He was truly a deep schemer, terrifying to the extreme. She was once the greatest beauty in the capital, but in her youthful ignorance, she gave her heart to the wrong person, implicating the 72 innocent lives of the Feng family, who were wrongly accused and put to death. Reborn on her wedding day, she encountered Miss Shun, who was fleeing her own marriage and attempting suicide while taking shelter from the rain. Miss Shun was unwilling to marry the ruthless Prince Qingping, and Feng Shuang was unwilling to marry the scumbag. The two swapped veils and deliberately staged a wrong bride scenario. Feng Shuang had thought that by losing her chastity, she could avoid marrying the scumbag, who knew that in order to gain the Feng family's power, the scumbag would plead with the emperor to swap the brides back, even resorting to a ploy of self-harm. With a clang, he stabbed the dagger into his own chest. Seeing the third prince, Nan Yutian, viciously harm himself, everyone was shocked. The emperor shot up from his dragon throne in alarm. Guards summoned the imperial physician. Seeing this, Consortly immediately threw herself onto Nan Yutian and began to wail. "My son, how could you be so foolish? You're the only son I have. If something happens to you, how will your mother live?" Nan Yutian lowered his eyelids faintly. "It is your son's fault. Your son has disappointed father emperor and mother consort. To your son, My own life is not as important as Schwanger. I only wish to win one person's heart and never be apart until our hair turns white. Foaming Shuang was so disgusted she was at a loss. What should she do? If this continued, the emperor was going to betroth her to the scumbag. Just then, a round of applause echoed in the room. Prince Qingping's thin lips curved into a cold, arc third prince. That was a truly moving performance. Even His Majesty was drawn into the act. Nan Yuqian's face was full of confusion. What does Prince Qingping mean by this? Prince Qingping picked up the dagger. He looked pensively at the emperor. Since the founding of this dynasty, the number of subjects permitted to carry a blade into the throne hall can be counted on one hand. If the third prince insists this was a genuine display of emotion and not an act, then he must have been secretly carrying this dagger into the hall every day. Hearing this, the third prince was stunned. He quickly explained, "Father Emperor, your son would not." The emperor looked at the dagger and paused. Surely the third prince wouldn't have the guts to assassinate me in public? He then spoke slowly enough. Although Yu Tian's actions were absurd, there was a reason. Let this not be a precedent. He looked down at the kneeling Feng Yingshuang, even more conflicted about how to decide. Feng Yingshuang slowly knelt down. The third prince's actions were all for my sake, but I am no longer chaste. If I were to become pregnant, it would bring chaos to the royal bloodline. I ask for your majesty's permission to return to the Feng Manor for 3 months. If I am not with child after 3 months, it will not be too late to enter the third prince's manor then. Beside them, Prince Qingpin, Jun Machin, immediately cupped his hands in a salute. Your Majesty, I agree to the 3-month term. If Ying Shuang is with child after 3 months, then it is my flesh and blood. At that time, I will request your Majesty to decree that the princess be returned to me. Hearing this, the third prince was still unwilling to give up. But Prince Qingpin was, after all, a prince with a different surname. Considering that the royal bloodline must not be muddled, the emperor agreed to the 3-month proposal. After everyone had dispersed, the emperor's trusted eunuch hurried forward to massage his back. Your Majesty, this servant is slow-witted. Wasn't it just a case of getting into the wrong bridal sedan? Just switch them back. Why did it escalate to involve Prince Qingpin as well? The emperor pressed his temples. Grand Tutor Feng's granddaughter's dowry. It's not as simple as just gold and jewels. Who wouldn't be envious? I originally thought the third prince was simple-minded. It seems now that I was too hasty in arranging this marriage. In that case, why did your Majesty agree to this absurd 3-month proposal? The emperor's gaze turned cold and sharp. 3 months. I also want to see for myself whether this marriage was the little girl Feng Yingshuang's own idea or Grand Tutor Feng's. This girl is clearly a virgin. Yet she lied about not being chaste and swore that she would be pregnant in 3 months. It turned out that on their wedding night, Feng Yingshuang had offered herself to Prince Qingpin. But the crucial, passionate moment, her traitorous tears silently streamed down her face. Although the god of war, Prince Qingpin, had a fierce reputation, he had no desire to force a girl. So he tossed a cotton quilt to Feng Yingshuang to sleep under, so she wouldn't catch a cold. Feng Yingshuang used the excuse of possibly being pregnant from their night together to escape the third prince's entanglement. When she returned to the Feng residence, her parents, brother, and sister-in-law, and all her uncles were standing in unison at the entrance, waiting for her return. Watching Feng Yingshuang run and leap about like the same vibrant young girl from yesterday, her relatives' faces were all filled with concern. Feng Yingshuang thought of her past life, of the scene where they were tied to the execution platform and beheaded. A wave of sorrow washed over her heart. It was all because Yingshuang was ignorant before. Yingshuang has wronged you all. She threw herself fiercely into her mother's embrace, greedily soaking in her mother's warmth. Mother, I've missed you so much. Her uncles nearby looked on with concern that what's wrong with our Yingshuang. Her mother gently stroked Feng Yingshuang's hair. Getting into the wrong sedan was an accident. It's not your fault, Shuanger. We're family. We don't say such things. But a cold snort came from not far away. It was Grand Tutor Feng, speaking in a cryptic tone. Feng Yingshuang quickly went and took her grandfather's arm. Grandfather, weren't you unwilling for me to marry the third prince before? Now that Shuanger is back, you should be happy. Grand Tutor Feng huffed, his beard bristling. Happy? I'm about to be angered to death by you. Don't think I can't see through it. You little rascal, you orchestrated this whole thing yourself, deliberately getting into the wrong sedan. Grandfather father doesn't blame you for wanting to call off the marriage. But why did you have to provoke Prince Qingpin, who in the entire imperial court doesn't know that he is a special existence? Feng Yingshuang lowered her head and admitted her fault. Granddaughter was desperate to get out of the situation and didn't want to implicate the Feng family, so I could only borrow Prince Qingpin's power for a while. Grand Tutor Feng sighed. Silly child. It's good that you're home. The Feng residents will always be your support. Also happy at this time was the other bride who got into the wrong sedan, Miss Shun. After pretending to cry and wail to no effect, she had also briskly returned home. One morning, as Feng Yingshuang was dressing and doing her makeup, she heard a maid announce that Sue Manru had come to visit. Recalling all the evil deeds this Miss Sue had done to her, a flash of bone-chilling hatred crossed Feng Yingshuang's eyes. She deliberately said she wasn't awake yet to make Miss Sue wait. Then she ordered her maids to bring Suzhou rouge, Yangzhou powder, Xiongchuan perfume, a Yuanshan dye eyebrow pencil, a rolled sand gold-threaded skirt made by a Suzhou embroidery master, and a flowing gold hairpin with inlaid rubies. Previously, to prevent this best friend of humble birth from feeling inferior, she always dressed plainly in front of her. But today, she wanted to make the one surnamed Sue realize a phoenix is a phoenix, after all. A sparrow like Sue Manru could never be her equal. 2 hours later, Miss Sue, who was waiting outside, was about to lose her patience. Before, whenever she came, someone would immediately serve her tea, water, and snacks. But this time, half the day had passed, and no one had paid her any mind. She thought viciously to herself, in the future, I'll definitely have the third prince teach that bitch Feng Yingshuang a lesson. After another long while, Feng Yingshuang finally emerged, surrounded by a throng of maids. She had vermilion lips, a face as beautiful as a painting, and every frown and smile revealed a myriad of charms. Dressed in a red gown, she was as noble and extraordinary as a phoenix reborn from the ashes. It was impossible to look away from her. Sue Manru was stunned. The inferiority in her bones surged to the surface that he who wins the daughter of the Feng family wins the world. Feng Yingshuang was truly worthy of the name. Sue Manru clenched her fists tightly. She pitifully expressed how much she missed Sister Feng, explaining that she didn't visit yesterday because her father forbade her from leaving the house. Then, she rolled up her sleeve for Sister Feng to see the numerous scars on her arm. Feng Yingshuang narrowed her eyes slightly. With a look of concern, she pressed hard on Sue Manru's scars, making Miss Sue tremble in pain. Then, she ordered her handmaiden, Ruo Shui, to bring the finest wound ointment and fragrant balm. Sue Manru saw that their sisterly bond was still seemingly strong. She then moved closer to offer false comfort. Don't be afraid, sister. With the third prince here, he definitely won't let you be bullied. Feng Yingshuang, with a worried expression, said, Prince Qingping holds military power. How terrifying. How can you be so discerning, little sister, to believe that the powerless third prince can contend with him? After speaking, she gave Sue Manru a sharp look. It's truly rare for the third prince to have a confidant like you. Sue Manru's heart skipped a beat, and she didn't know how to respond. Feng Yingshuang chuckled. What are you afraid of, little sister? I was just speaking casually. Of course. I believe the third prince can save me from this sea of suffering. After all, he's the one who claims to love me so much. How could he abandon me? These words infuriated Sue Manru. That bitch Feng Yingshuang. Just wait until I marry into the third prince's residence. I'll show you just how the third prince loves me. Sue Manru spoke a few more hypocritical words, then took the wound ointment and fragrant balm and scurried away. Her personal handmaiden was very confused. That skincare balm is so expensive. Why did you give it to someone else, my lady? Feng Yingshuang revealed a wicked, contemptuous smile. That balm has a unique scent that lingers for a long time and can't be washed off. Why don't we make a bet? I bet that Sue Manru has long been having a secret affair with Nan Yutian. The next episode is amazing. I've even written a little limerick. Uploaded to Kwai Kanken. Search for Kwai Kanken on Douyin. Click here to enter. Input the search code 922C. That's the number 922. Click search. Watch a short ad to get early access. For certain reasons, all new videos will be saved under the early access section first. If you like it, you can go there to watch. By day, this girl is a gentle, virtuous, and sweet little sister. By night, she secretly steals her older sister's beloved. Miss Sue thought that with her pure and lovely beauty and her pitifully charming act, she could surely make the third prince, Nan Yutian, fall for her. But little did she know, the man she was trying so hard to win over was currently indulging in extreme pleasure. Skin flawless, beads of sweat glistening, a flower crushed by her temple. After a long while, the two entangled bodies finally separated. Only then did an attendant hurry forward to announce that Miss Sue had arrived. Hearing this, the favored concubine, Beauty Wong, her hair disheveled and her face flushed, stood up weakly. Beauty Wong clearly knew of Sue Manru. She spoke in a delicate voice, "Your Highness, didn't you promise to accompany me today? Why are you going to see that woman?" The third prince lazily placated her. "Be good. You go back first. I will come to your chambers tonight." "No, I want your highness to stay with me." Hearing this, the third prince's expression changed instantly. "That I detest women who become arrogant because they are favored. Do you understand?" Beauty Wong quickly admitted her mistake. "I was wrong." Of course, Beauty Wong was well aware of Nan Yutian's temper, so she could only retreat dejectedly. Afterwards, Nan Yutian slowly walked to the front hall. As soon as Sue Manru saw him, she immediately curtsied. Nan Yutian slowly reached out a hand. "Good sister, there's no need to be so formal with me. You smell so fragrant today, little sister." Sue Manru looked shy, her flowing glances full of gentleness. She was the pawn Nan Yutian had placed by Feng Yingshuang's side. With her reports, he could secure his hold over Feng Yingshuang. Sue Manru reported, "Today at the Grand Tutor's residence, I tried to console sister, but she said that Prince Qingping has glorious military achievements and a pivotal position in the court. She said you, your highness, simply don't have the ability to save her. I don't understand why sister seems to hold Prince Qingping in such high esteem." Hearing this, Nan Yutian flew into a rage. He grabbed Sue Manru by the collar and viciously demanded, "Did she really say that? It's absolutely true. How would Rower dare to deceive you, your highness?" Nan Yutian slammed his hand on the table. "That fickle, promiscuous slut. After spending just one night with that traitor, she's already forgotten her place." Sue Manru was startled. So Feng Yingshuang and Prince Qingping have really consummated their relationship. Haha, let's see what right that bitch has to return to the third prince's side now. Sue Manru quickly offered a hypocritical apology that "It was my mistake. I misspoke, causing a misunderstanding between you and sister. The person she loves most in her heart is you. I beg you not to blame her." The more Sue Manru said this, the more furious Nan Yutian became. Her words were simply pouring oil on the fire. The two, who were two peas in a pod, continued their act of rower. "You truly are a rare and good woman in this world. If Feng Yinshuang were just 1/10 like you, this king would ask for nothing more." Miss Sue swayed her body, her tenderness like water. I come from a humble background. How could I be worthy of my sister's noble status? My sister is the apple of the Feng family's eye. She has been doted on since she was a child, so it's inevitable that she's a bit spoiled. I implore the third prince not to hold it against her. Please forgive her unintentional words. Sue Manru put on such a humble and pleading demeanor, yet every word she spoke was a dagger to the heart. But no matter what she said, Nan Yutian knew what he had to do, let alone the fact that Feng Yingshuang was no longer a virgin. Even if she did something more outrageous, Nan Yutian had to marry her. After all, she was the only daughter of the Feng family. Sue Manru knelt beside Nan Yutian, her petite and delicate body curled up like a docile house cat, evoking pity. Nan Yutian helped her up and pulled her into his embrace. His hand, which was resting on her waist, began to wander restlessly upwards. You will keep a close watch on Feng Yingshuang. Report any unusual behavior to this king immediately, especially regarding her and Prince Qingping. You must watch them closely. As long as you are devoted to this king, I will certainly not treat you unfairly. Once everything is settled, I will make you my concubine. An ecstatic smile appeared on Sue Manru's face. The scumbag and the scheming woman were overjoyed. Meanwhile, Feng Yingshuang was secretly becoming more beautiful. The best way to get revenge on a scumbag is to let him see what he can never have. Search on Douyin. Quick, take a look. Click here to enter the search code 922C. That's the number 922. Then click search. Watch a short ad to get early access to the next episode. For certain reasons, new videos will be saved in the early access section first. If you like it, you can go there to watch. This girl, a gentle, virtuous and sweet little sister by day, secretly stole her older sister's beloved by night. But who would have thought that the man she tried so hard to win over was at this very moment enjoying the height of ecstasy? Through the fine green gauze of the bed curtains, a flawless beauty is teased. Beads of sweat trickle down like pearls, crushing the flowers by her temples. A long time passed in their passionate entanglement. The two, entwined, finally separated. An attendant came forward to announce that Miss Sue had arrived. Hearing this, the favored concubine, Wang Marin, whose face was flushed, stood up shyly. Wang Marin clearly knew of Sue Manru. She asked coyly, "Your Highness, didn't you promise to accompany me today? Why are you going to see that woman?" The third prince lazily brushed her off. "Be good. Go back for now. This king will visit you tonight." "No, I want your highness to stay with me." Hearing this, the third prince's expression changed instantly. This prince detests women who become arrogant because they are favored. Do you understand? Wang Marin quickly composed herself. "I was wrong. A scumbag is a scumbag." One moment he was being affectionate with Wang Marin, and the next he turned cold and hostile. Afterwards, Nan Yutian slowly walked to the front hall to meet Sue Manru. He slowly reached out his hand. "Little sister, you smell so fragrant today." Sue Manru looked shy. She was the spy Nan Yutian had placed by Feng Yingshuang's side. With her reports, he could confidently control Feng Yingshuang. Today at Grand Tutor Ties, I wanted to console my sister, but she said that Prince Qingping has outstanding military achievements and holds a pivotal position in the court. She said that you, third prince, are not capable enough to save him. I don't understand why my sister seems to hold Prince Qingping in such high esteem. Hearing this, Nan Yutian flew into a rage. He grabbed Sue Manru by the collar and questioned fiercely, "Did Feng Yingshuang really say that?" "It's absolutely true. How would Rower dare to deceive the third prince?" Nan Yutian slammed the table. "That promiscuous harlot. Don't tell me she's forgotten her place after sleeping one night with that traitor." Sue Manru was secretly delighted. So Feng Yingshuang and Prince Qingping have already consummated their relationship. We'll see what right that wretch has to return to the third prince's side now. Sue Manru quickly feigned an apology that it was Rower who misspoke, causing a misunderstanding between you and my sister. The one my sister truly loves is you. I beg you not to blame her. The more Sue Manru said this, the angrier Nan Yutian became. Her words were simply adding fuel to the fire. The two, who were two peas in a pod, continued their act. "Rower, you truly are a rare and good woman in this world. If Feng Yingshuang were just 1/10 like you, this king would ask for nothing more." Miss Sue swayed her body, her tenderness like watered. "No, I come from a humble background. How could I be worthy of my sister's noble status? My sister is the apple of the Feng family's eye, so it's inevitable that she's a bit spoiled. I implore the third prince not to hold it against her. Please just forgive my sister." Sue Manru put on such a humble and pleading demeanor, yet every word she spoke was a dagger to the heart. But no matter what she said, Nan Yutian knew what he had to do, let alone the fact that Feng Yingshuang was no longer a virgin. Even if she did something more outrageous, Nan Yutian had to marry her. After all, she was the only daughter of the Feng family. Sue Manru snuggled up to Nan Yutian's side. Her petite, fairy-like body was curled up like a docile house cat, evoking pity and affection. Nan Yutian pulled her into his embrace. The hand that was resting on her waist began to wander restlessly upwards. "Ronger, you are to watch Feng Yingshuang closely. Report any unusual behavior to me at once. You must pay special attention to matters between her and Prince Qingping. As long as you are devoted to me, I will not treat you unfairly. Once everything is settled, I will make you my concubine." A look of ecstatic joy appeared on Sue Manru's face. The scum man and the scheming woman were overjoyed. On the other side, Feng Yingshuang was secretly becoming more beautiful. The best way to get revenge on a scum man is to let him see what he can't have. We apologize, but due to certain reasons, this episode has been re-edited. Thank you all for watching. We wish you happiness every day. Some say the best way to get revenge on a scum man is to let him see what he can't have. But how to deal with the scum man and the scheming woman? Make them fall apart. Sow discord between them. How to do it without making the green tea suspicious. Continue to feign affection. In the quiet night, the sound of splashing water could be heard. Faintly visible, a graceful and slender figure was reflected on the screen. "Miss, is the water temperature all right?" "It's perfect." Feng Yingxuang was bathing. Ruo Shui was at her side, attending to her thoughtfully. This made her think of her past life, of the days they suffered endless humiliation together in Kunming Palace. In those dark times, Ruo Shui had never abandoned her. Looking at the now quiet and serene Ruo Shui, Feng Yingxuang recalled the sight of Ruo Shui being beaten to death by Sue Manru. At that time, Ruo Shui was covered in blood, yet she gritted her teeth and didn't make a sound. Tears couldn't help but well up in Feng Yingxuang's eyes. In her past life, she had treated Sue Manru so well, but in return, she received only betrayal and schemes. It was her fault for misjudging people, for being blind. Reborn, she was determined to take good care of Ruo Shui so as not to betray the sacrifice she made in her past life to save her. The next morning, the third prince and Sue Manru arrived one after another at the Grand Tutor's residence to invite Feng Yingxuang on a boat trip. Feng Yingxuang deliberately dressed up. She wanted Nan Yutian to look at her with longing. She wanted him to taste the feeling of desiring something with all his heart, only to have it cruelly trampled upon. A soft patter of footsteps was heard. Feng Yingxuang appeared, her gait graceful and elegant. A vision of lightness and poise, a beauty unmatched in this generation, a face that could overthrow cities. The third prince, who had been drinking tea, was suddenly stunned by the beauty before him. She was an absolute goddess. With just one look, he couldn't tear his eyes away from her. Compared to her, Sue Manru seemed as plain as dust. Nan Yuqian quickly walked up to Feng Yingxuang, took her small hand, and said, "Shuanger, you are so beautiful." Feng Yingxuang subtly withdrew her hand. "Although I admire the third prince, I must consider the opinions of others. One must abide by the rules of propriety." Sue Manru stepped forward with a smile and a compliment. "Sister, you are truly too beautiful. Let alone the third prince. Even I, your little sister, am captivated by your charm." Feng Yingxuang smiled faintly. "Sister, you're teasing me again. Your blue cloud-pattern brocade dress is very beautiful today. It bears a striking resemblance to the third prince's attire." Then, she glanced sideways with a smile, deliberately pointing out that Nan Yutian and Sue Manru were wearing matching outfits. Nan Yutian was instantly furious. "This Sue Manru is truly asking for death. If she ruins my plans, I will definitely not let her go." Sue Manru's expression faltered. "That it is my fault. I've been disrespectful to the third prince. I beg for forgiveness from the third prince and my sister." Feng Yingxuang smiled and reached out her hand. "Sister, why are you so nervous? It's just a piece of clothing, no need to worry. If other men were to see you like this, they would surely feel sorry for you." A cold sweat broke out on Sue Manru's body. How could Feng Yingxuang's words be so sharp? She was left with no way to defend herself. Feng Yingxuang moved closer to Sue Manru and smelled the same fragrance on her as on Nan Yutian. This confirmed that they were already having an affair. Since that was the case, she would do the opposite and make good use of her former good sister. This girl, who had just dressed so seductively to entice the scum man, in the next second proposed that the green tea sister share a husband with her. Just when she thought everything was under her control, her husband, Prince Qingping, suddenly threw open the curtain. "My dear consort, what are you doing?" Today, Feng Yingxuang, the scum man, and the scheming woman went on a boat trip together. Inside the carriage, Sue Manru was being exceptionally attentive. Feng Yingxuang took Sue Manru's hand, her eyes full of affection. "Sister, you are so kind and clever. Whoever marries, you will truly be blessed for several lifetimes. Does the third prince have any good candidates in mind to choose a husband for my sister?" Hearing this, Sue Manru's expression changed. She couldn't just marry some poor scholar. She still wanted to enter the prince's mansion and fight for his favor. My status is humble. I only wish to stay by my sister's side and have no plans to marry." As she spoke, she couldn't help but glance in Nan Yutian's direction, desperately hoping he would step forward and speak up for her. Unfortunately, Nan Yutian said nothing at all. He was still trying to distance himself from the recent matching outfits incident. There was no way he would intervene to help her. If Feng Yingxuang were to find someone to marry Sue Manru off to today, Nan Yutian wouldn't object at all. Seeing Sue Manru's frantic anxiety, Feng Yngshuang grabbed her hand at just the right moment. "You're my dear sister. How could I let you marry just anyone? If only we two sisters could serve the same husband, that would be wonderful." What? This was something Sue Manru wouldn't even dare to dream of. Suppressing the ecstasy in her heart, Sue Manru put on an extremely panicked expression. "Sister, you and the third prince are the ones in love. How could I dare?" Nan Yutian also frowned. "Yngshuang, my heart only has room for you. How can you ask me to marry another woman? I will never agree." Haha. With just one sentence, the scumbag and the bitch were singing different tune for the first time. Feng Yngshuang said with a serious face, "Ronger is my dear sister. Although I deeply love the third prince, I dare not ask for your exclusive affection. Besides, the royal family needs to continue its lineage. I cannot let the third prince be in a difficult position because of my own selfish desires." Feng Yngshuang's words seemed to come from the bottom of her heart. At least, no flaw could be seen on her face. Nan Yutian was stunned. He took Feng Yngshuang's hand, looking at her with deep affection. "Yngshuang, you are the love of my life. Even if Miss Sue is to enter my residence, I can only give her the status of a lady and look after her as a sister." Feng Yngshuang seemed very moved. "Then on behalf of my sister Ronga, I thank you, Your Highness." Seeing Feng Yngshuang's touched expression, Nan Yutian was very pleased. It seemed that marrying Feng Yngshuang in 3 months was a sure thing. By then, the Feng family and the Feng clan would all be under his, Nan Yutian's, control. Soon, the three of them arrived at the shore of Music Lake. They boarded a luxurious and spacious pleasure boat together. Nan Yutian put on the air of a warm and caring man, a gentle smile on his face like a spring breeze. Not far away, a figure in a wide-sleeved brocade robe stood at the bow of the boat. Tall and elegant, he looked like an immortal from a painting. Nan Yutian's attendant shouted, "Who are you? How dare you board the third prince's pleasure boat without permission? Don't you know this boat has been reserved by the third prince for the day?" The man slowly turned around, revealing his iconic bronze Langya mask. Everyone was shocked. The attendant, who had just been so arrogant, trembled with fear. This servant did not know of Prince Qingping's arrival. "Please forgive me, Your Highness." Jun Machin, holding a folding fan, strode forward that my princess consort came out on a date with another man. "Naturally, I have to follow closely." After a moment of brief silence, Nan Yutian roared in anger, How dare you show your face before me again?" Jun Machin didn't even spare him a glance. He strode forward, grabbed Feng Yngshuang's wrist, and pulled her directly into his embrace. "Going on a date with another man behind my back. Do you take me for a dead man?" Seeing his woman being held by another man again, how could Nan Yutian bear it? He immediately stepped forward to snatch her back. Feng Yngshuang quickly took a few steps back. "Your Highness, please conduct yourself with dignity." In broad daylight, what sort of behavior is this? Pulling and tugging. Jun Machin sneered. "Dignity? Between my own wife and me, what need is there for such formalities? You are already my woman. You should observe your wifely duties." Feng Yngshuang was speechless. Why did Prince Qingping have to come and cause trouble? "Your Highness, don't forget our 3-month agreement. During this period, I don't belong to either of you." Feng Yngshuang's eyes held a pleading look, hoping Prince Qingping would be magnanimous and not hold it against her. The man obviously understood her gaze that, in that case, I also have the right to pursue you. So, let's all enjoy today's outing together." "No." Nan Yutian was the first to disagree. He had planned to use today's opportunity to cultivate his relationship with Feng Yngshuang. How could he let this man ruin it? This man was truly shameless to the extreme. "You disagree? Fine. Since the third prince is unwilling to grant me this favor, then I can only take my princess consort and leave. You and this Miss Sue can enjoy the scenery." While threatening him, he didn't forget to drag Sue Manru into it. Hearing this, Sue Manru's face turned red, then pale. Nan Yutian was so angry he was speechless. But no matter how angry he was, he could only let Jun Machin stay. The dignified third prince had originally planned to have a beauty on each arm, the two sisters in his embrace. But someone showed up unexpectedly to spoil his plans. The nice love triangle had turned into a complicated love square. The scumbag's mood was beyond gloomy. The female lead, Feng Yngshuang, trying not to offend either side, was thinking about how to teach the bitch a lesson. The wind picked up, and the pleasure boat began to rock slightly. Feng Yngshuang suddenly had an idea. She calmly invited her green tea sister to the side of the boat to look at the scenery. At that moment, the gazes exchanged between Prince Qingping and the third prince were like countless sharp blades. It made the scheming girl feel like she was on pins and needles. Feng Yngshuang's words were like a lifeline. She was desperate for a chance to get out. Wow, so many fish. Sister, look. After all, Sue Manru was unsophisticated and hadn't seen much of the world. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew, causing the boat to rock. Feng Yngshuang lost her balance and was about to fall into the water. Sister, what's wrong? Sue Manru rushed over, but she had a hidden agenda. She quietly hid behind a pillar, thinking to herself, let her drown. Let her drown. Just as Feng Yngshuang was about to fall, she suddenly turned and firmly grabbed the railing. A flash of disappointment crossed Sue Manru's eyes. She walked over with her hands outstretched, asking with false concern, Sister, are you all right? Feng Yngshuang's acting was superb. That scared me to death. If anything were to happen to me, little sister, you must take good care of the third prince for me. Her words successfully brought out the darkest side of Sue Manru's heart. Yes, it would be wonderful if Feng Yngshuang died. As if possessed, she stretched out her hands and gave a violent push forward. In that split second, Feng Yngshuang dodged to the side, but Sue Manru, losing her balance from the motion, fell straight off the boat. Sue Manru flailed desperately in the water. She couldn't swim at all. Water continuously flooded her nose and mouth. Help! Help! Feng Yngshuang chuckled. She had long since discovered Sue Manru's evil intentions. In that case, she would let her soak in the water for a while longer. She stood at the edge of the boat, admiring Sue Manru's pathetic struggle for a moment, before shouting, Help! Sister Sue has fallen into the water. Somebody save her! Jun Machun and Lan Yutian came out at once. Feng Yngshuang, looking terrified, pointed frantically at Sister Sue in the water. She accidentally fell from the side of the boat. You have to save her. As a noble prince, Jun Machun had no desire to get involved, and Lan Yutian, as the dignified third prince, was also unwilling to lower himself by jumping in. He couldn't help but curse Sue Manru for being more trouble than she was worth. At this point, Sue Manru had almost no strength left to struggle and was about to sink. Feng Yngshuang bit her lip and made as if to jump in and save her. Jun Machun quickly pulled her back, then gave Lan Yutian a hard push from behind. He pushed Lan Yutian straight into the water. Feng Yngshuang felt like applauding. A brilliant move. Lan Yutian was furious as he hit the water. That damn Prince Qingping is despicable. The two of them thrashed about in the water. On the boat, Jun Machun wrapped his arm around his princess, killing two birds with one stone. My dear consort, you have some truly brilliant methods. Feng Yngshuang didn't resist his embrace. Thank you for your invaluable cooperation, Your Highness. The Feng Yngshuang of today didn't mind Jun Machun's embrace. Having been reborn, she no longer cared for pointless formalities. She only wanted to protect her family and live her life freely. Little did she know that the man beside her had unconsciously begun to see her as his possession. He didn't just pay formal visits. He even snuck into her chambers at night to watch her bathe. He completely treated Feng Yngshuang as his woman. In Lan Yutian's words, that damn Prince Qingping is simply despicable. Rumor has it that Prince Qingping is a merciless demon who, when his madness strikes, drinks human blood and eats human flesh. His 7 previous consorts all died mysteriously within days of their marriage, their bodies never found. And yet today, this very same man was sneaking into his consort's chambers to watch her bathe. After dealing with that scheming girl by the water, Feng Yngshuang returned home in high spirits. But Prince Qingping shamelessly insisted on accompanying her to pay a visit to the head of the Feng household. Feng Yngshuang couldn't help but roll her eyes. This man certainly made himself at home. When they arrived at the Feng manor, Jun Machun's gaze fixed on the words Grand Tutor's residence and did not move. In his mind, an image flashed of a battlefield, a mountain of corpses in a sea of blood. His younger self, looking upon his devastated homeland, lonely and helpless. It was a wound that would never heal. The main hall of the Feng manor was grand and majestic, with an air of classic elegance. Grand Tutor Feng, a man of immense power in the court, glared coldly. Your Highness graces us with your presence. What guidance do you have for us? Prince Qingping, with uncharacteristic respect, bowed. He had just uttered the word, grandson. Grand Tutor Feng quickly raised a hand to cut him off. Your Highness, we are not worthy of such an address. Please, speak plainly. As for this marriage, the Feng family cannot aspire to such a great honor. Jun Machin let out a cold smile. The Grand Tutor is indeed straightforward, but the Feng family is full of loyal subjects. Naturally, you do not wish to be drawn into the vortex of a struggle for imperial power. After 3 months, I will helping Shuang get away. I only ask that Grand Tutor Feng not be deceived by the third prince, lest you live to regret it. Jun Machin's words were direct and reasonable. Grand Tutor Feng temporarily agreed with his approach. Feng Yingshuang accompanied Jun Machin out of the Feng residence. Along the way, she couldn't figure out what this man's true purpose was. On a silent night, the clear water murmured, and the fragrance of flowers filled the air. Feng Yingshuang was soaking in a warm bathtub, enjoying a moment of peace. Suddenly, a cool hand slowly crept onto her shoulder. Feng Yingshuang's heart skipped a beat. Ruo Shui, didn't I tell you to go rest? Why are you back? There was no response. Feng Yingshuang finally sensed that something was amiss. She whipped her head around and saw a tall, slender figure standing behind her. Feng Yingshuang instinctively wanted to scream for help, but the next second, she saw the familiar Langan mask on his face and swallowed her scream. The man, Prince Qingping, gazed at her with deep eyes. Instead of that, I would rather hear you call me husband. HTTPS. Feng Yingshuang nearly choked on her own saliva. She quickly sank her body deeper into the water, until not even her neck was visible, leaving only her head above the surface. In the dead of night, for a prince to do something so sneaky, it's truly speechless. HTTPS. Jun Machin was as thick-skinned as a city wall. I am entering the room of my own, officially wedded princess consort. It is perfectly natural and right. It was the first time the girl had bathed so vulnerably, only to be seen completely by Prince Qingping. He even recited a poem, draped in robes and water. What more could one ask for? Let the silk clothes float freely for my pleasure. My dear consort, with such beauty, even the ancients could not compare. In a panic, Feng Yingshuang quickly got dressed, preparing to curse him out. But a pair of long, slender hands reached out from behind her. The god of war of his generation, Prince Qingping, swept his beloved girl into his arms, causing Feng Yingshuang to let out a scream. Jun Machin, he quickly blew softly into Feng Yingshuang's my dear consort. Quiet down. Someone might hear you. He then placed Feng Yingshuang onto a chair. Feng Yingshuang was still puffing her cheeks in anger. Didn't your highness say that meeting in private would affect my reputation? You're contradicting yourself so soon. Jun Machin leisurely picked up a strand of the girl's fine hair and brought it to his nose. The dim, soft light added to the ambiguous atmosphere. Before him was a beauty fresh from her bath. This flower bud, waiting to bloom, was tempting one to pick it. I came in openly through the front gate, and I have the old Grand Tutor's permission to be a guest. This doesn't count as a private meeting. However, on our wedding day, my dear consort used me to escape the marriage. Shouldn't you offer me some compensation? Feng Yingshuang was taken aback. What compensation? Jun Machin didn't answer. He simply picked up a nearby towel and began to gently dry Feng Yingshuang's hair. Feng Yingshuang looked at the man's reflection in the mirror and was lost in a daze. The famously ferocious Prince Qingping could actually have such a patient and meticulous side. What did Prince Qingping truly want at this moment? He didn't know either. He only knew that he liked watching this girl, who was at times profound and at other times foolish. Watching her intelligence and wit, watching her recklessness and folly. The road ahead was long, but at this moment, he just wanted to walk with her for a while. To watch her cry, watch her laugh, watch her at a loss, and then stay with her until she is content and proud. The road of life is long. How about I, your prince, walk a part of it with you? The next day, Miss Shun, who had also been in the wrong wedding sedan, went cheerfully to the Grand Tutor's residence. Recently, the capital was filled with gossip about Miss Shun. They said that as the daughter of a fourth-rank official, her status was humble. Now, she was a cast-off that neither the third prince nor Prince Qingping wanted. However, Feng Yingshuang insisted on taking her to Consort Xian's birthday banquet. HTTPS. Miss Shun on the other hand, was constantly considering Feng Yngshuang's difficult situation. She felt that neither Prince Qingping nor the third prince was someone to be trifled with, and she was grateful to Feng Yngshuang for putting herself in a dilemma to save her life. Having been reborn into this life, Feng Yngshuang finally understood some things. Miss Shun, though mired in gossip, was still willing to think of her. She was truly a sincere and straightforward girl. If it had been Sue Manru, she would have eagerly tagged along long ago to curry favor with the powerful and show off. The Feng family's power and influence are deeply rooted in the court. Consort Xian is the biological sister of Feng Yngshuang's second sister-in-law. HTTPS. Feng Yngshuang, having heard of Miss Shun's mastery of the 5 skills, suggested that she perform at Consort Xian's birthday banquet. She was bound to be a great sensation. Meanwhile, Sue Manru was at home, recuperating from her injuries. After falling into the water, she returned home and fell gravely ill. She had a high fever for a full day and night before waking up. She also had many scratches of varying depths from her struggles. Feng Yngshuang had sent her top-grade golden sore medicine and snowflake bath dew, but every time she used them, she would become unbearably itchy. Today, she heard that Consort Xian was hosting a palace banquet. All daughters of officials from the 3rd rank and above were invited to attend. Every time she heard the words palace banquet, Sue Manru would tremble with excitement. This meant she had another chance to get ahead. Her father was merely a minor 7th rank official. Based on her family background alone, she wouldn't even have the chance to get near the palace gates. But there was Feng Yngshuang. As long as she clung to Feng Yngshuang, she could fearlessly perform in front of those princes and consorts. Did Feng Yngshuang send overexpensive clothes, skincare products, and jewelry like she used to? The maid shook her head and said there was nothing. That bitch Feng Yngshuang has gone too far. She frantically picked up the snowflake bath dew and applied it to her arm. An intense itchiness washed over her again, making her skin turn red. But Sue Manru swore to take good care of herself. Every inch of her skin had to be fair and radiant, without a single scar. That was the only way to be alluring to men. Feng Yngshuang's medicine must be the best. It would be a waste not to use it. She was originally the eldest daughter of the Grand Preceptor's manor, but she was blind and gave her heart to the wrong person, causing the 72 members of the Feng family to die unjustly. Reborn on her wedding day, she took shelter from the rain and encountered Miss Shun, who was running from her own marriage and trying to hang herself. Miss Shun was unwilling to marry the ruthless Prince Qingping. Feng Yngshuang was unwilling to marry the scoundrel who had her entire family killed. The two switched their bridal veils, deliberately staging a wrong sedan, right groom scenario. Feng Yngshuang, with Prince Qingping's cooperation, returned home to lie low. But Miss Shun, who had also taken the wrong sedan, became the laughingstock of the capital. They said that as the daughter of a 4th-rank official, her status was low, an abandoned wife that neither the 3rd prince nor Prince Qingping wanted. Little did they know, the frank and sincere Miss Shun was truly grateful to Feng Yngshuang for saving her from her misery and was always thinking of Feng Yngshuang's well-being. Feng Yngshuang was determined to rid Miss Shun of the trouble caused by these rumors. Thus, she brought Miss Shun to Consort Xian's birthday banquet to sweep away the recent gloom. Unexpectedly, a palace banquet became the turning point for a shift in imperial power, and a fateful connection began from this. On this day, Feng Yngshuang and Miss Shun got ready early and entered the palace. By the time Sue Manru arrived, she saw Feng Yngshuang and Miss Shun enthusiastically discussing poetry together. Seeing how close they were, a flash of jealousy crossed Sue Manru's eyes. She hurried over, pushed Miss Shun aside, and clung to Feng Yngshuang's arm. "Sister, I'm all better now. Let me take care of you. Stay away from someone with such a ruined reputation." Feng Yngshuang coldly pulled her arm back. "Thank you for the reminder, little sister. Miss Shun and I have had similar experiences. I suppose my reputation out there is just as bad." Sue Manru looked panicked. "That's not what I meant, sister. Who knows if this whole wrong-sit-in incident was a scheme by Miss Shun?" Feng Yngshuang had already seen Sue Manru's true colors. How could she possibly believe her divisive words? Miss Shun is a straightforward person. It's fate that we met. Now I have one more sister. Isn't that a good thing? Sue Manru stomped her foot in anger, and oh, of course it's not good. She wanted to monopolize all of Feng Yingshuang's resources for herself and couldn't bear to have anyone else take even a tiny bit. Just then, a mocking voice came from behind. Well, look who it is. If it isn't the two heroines from the wrong sedan rumors. Feng Yingshuang looked and saw it was Chen Shuxian, the legitimate daughter of the Duke of Qinghua's manor. Miss Shen nervously clutched her handkerchief. Chen Shuxian had humiliated Shen Ying many times before. But due to the power of the Duke of Qinghua's manor, Shen Ying had always swallowed her anger. Chen Shuxian, picking on the weakest, didn't dare to do anything to Feng Yingshuang and aimed her attacks directly at Shen Ying. Did the Shen family not teach you any manners? It's bad enough that you don't reflect on your mistakes, but you dare to attend a palace banquet? You should really consider your own status. Shen Ying responded calmly, I have done nothing wrong, so I have no need to reflect. If Miss Chen is so sensible, perhaps you should reflect on yourself and learn how to win the second prince's favor. It was a well-known fact that Chen Shuxian was in love with the second prince. She single-mindedly pursued him, but the second prince's attitude towards her was extremely cold. Everyone gossiped about it behind her back. The proper daughter of a duke's manor, acting with no regard for her status, completely lacking the image of a dignified and virtuous lady. Chen Shuxian's eyes widened in anger. How dare she use the second prince to shut her up? What audacity! She gave a cold smile. So, you finally latched onto the Feng family. That's given you some confidence. However, your reputation is already ruined, your chastity lost. Even a beggar on the street wouldn't spare you a glance. Hearing this, Feng Yingshuang was furious. The wedding sedan mix-up was an accident. Miss Shen herself is not at fault. Besides, she has already severed ties with both the third prince and Prince Qingping. How can you say her reputation is ruined? Miss Shen is kind and virtuous. She deserves a better match. Her words deeply moved Shen Ying, but Chen Shuxian couldn't stop mocking them. What does it mean to take advantage and then play innocent? Today, I've truly seen it all. If you two are such dear sisters, why don't you find her a better husband and marry her off? Feng Yingshuang's brow furrowed slightly. Miss Shen deserves better. We'll just wait and see. Chen Shuxian, not one to let things go, grew more excited as she spoke. Why don't we make a bet? By now, a crowd had gathered around them. Everyone has a heart for gossip. Hearing their topic, they all became very interested. Let's bet on whether you can find her a better match. If you can't, you'll be my maid, Feng Yingshuang. Feng Yingshuang's tone turned, I see why, and no problem. But if you lose, I want your tongue, to prevent any more indecent words from coming out of that mouth in the future. What? The crowd was in an uproar. Even Chen Shuxian's face turned pale with fright. The eldest miss of the Feng family, Feng Yingshuang, was rumored to be pampered beyond measure, showered with immense affection. Why was she being so cruel and bloodthirsty now? Did she mean she wanted to cut out Chen Shuxian's tongue? Chen Shuxian tried her best to hide her inner panic. I'm telling you, I won't lose. Just you wait to be my maid for a month. With Shen Ying's current reputation, how could she possibly find a better match? A match better than the third prince and Prince Qingping? It was unthinkable. What was there to be afraid of? This girl was the laughingstock of the entire capital, all because she got into the wrong wedding sedan on her big day, and the groom refused to even look at her. Yet, Feng Yingshuang stood up for her, guaranteeing she could find her a better match. Not long ago, she was the cast-off bride that neither the third prince nor Prince Qingping wanted. How could she possibly find a better match? Miss Shen was very worried about this bet. Sue Manru, on the other hand, was fuming with jealousy nearby. Why should they find a better match for Shen Ying, while she herself could only be a concubine? She viciously clenched her fists. When I enter the third prince's residence, I'll make sure Feng Yingshuang pays. Just then, a tender voice came from the corridor. The crowd's gaze followed the sound. At the sight, their eyes were fixed. The second prince, Nan Yuchen, stood against the wind, his gentle and refined aura as refreshing as a spring breeze, like a banished immortal from poem. Truly, a man on the path like Jade, a gentleman unparalleled in the world. And the cute child in his arms ran cheerfully towards Feng Yingshuang. Yingshuang, I've been looking for you for so long. Come and give me a hug. The chubby, adorable child was none other than Consort Xian's daughter, Princess Changle, who was getting so plump that she was almost too heavy to carry. Feng Shuang reminded the arrogant Chen Shuxian, "Don't forget our bet." But Chen Shuxian had already sidled up to the second prince's side with a nimble step, trying her best to curry favor. At this moment, Princess Changle looked at Shening and said in a childlike voice, "Wow, another pretty auntie. Just as pretty as Anning Shuang. Your purple dress is so beautiful. Second brother is also wearing purple today. Did you two plan it?" Nan Yuqin looked up, his eyes brightening. This purple dress suited the young lady very well. Shen Ying's face instantly turned red. She shyly lowered her head. Chen Shuxian was very displeased. What right did this wretched Shening have to speak with the second prince? She immediately exposed Shening for getting into the wrong wedding sedan, a woman married to two men, a notorious figure in the capital. Hearing this, Nan Yuqin spoke faintly. Rumors are just spread by outsiders. Miss Shun, you have done nothing wrong. There's no need to mind others' opinions. Like a lotus that emerges from the mud, yet remains unstained. How can one tell if it is pure or not? Shun Ying's gloomy face regained some of its bright color. T.O. emerged from the mud, yet remain unstained, cleansed by pure ripples, yet not seductive. My heart is like a lotus. Thank you, second prince, for your guidance. A hint of admiration flashed in Nan Yuqin's eyes. The chubby little princess, wise beyond her years, couldn't help but laugh and say, "Pretty Annie, let me tell you, my second brother has never praised a girl before. You're the first." Seeing this, Chen Shuxian was about to explode with anger. She had intended to slander Shening, but instead, the wretched woman won the second prince's praise just by reciting a line of poetry. Hadn't she just shot herself in the foot? It was Feng Shuang who stepped forward to suggest, "Your Highness is renowned for cherishing talent. Miss Shun is exceptionally gifted. How about letting her join the poetry society you founded?" The second prince readily agreed. For some reason, whenever he saw Shening, he felt an indescribable fondness and connection, making him very willing to befriend her. Shening was very grateful for Feng Shuang's help. But on the side, Feng Shuang's two-faced best friend clenched her handkerchief tightly. "That I'm supposed to be her best friend. Why does she always stand up for Shening? It's unfair, so unfair." Two princes were pursuing the same girl, and they nearly came to blows over it. As Feng Shuang arrived at the palace banquet, the third prince, Nan Yuqian, waved to her da Shuanger, "Hurry over. I've saved a seat for you." In her past life, Nan Yuqian had said the same words to her with such gentleness. But in the end, her beloved sister, Consort Xian, was framed, thrown into the cold palace, and died a miserable death. Today, she absolutely could not repeat the mistakes of her past life. Just then, Feng Shuang sensed a cold presence behind her. A tall, slender figure wearing a Langya mask. She knew him all too well. It was the husband of convenience she had found for herself, Prince Qingping Junmachin. Without any hesitation, in front of everyone, he grabbed Feng Shuang's hand. His white robes and her red gauze skirt became entangled, inseparable. In a tone that brooked no refusal, Prince Qingping said, "My dear consort, come here to me." His words drew the attention of countless people. This was the first time Prince Qingping had ever attended a harem banquet. Could he have come specifically for Feng Shuang? Feng Shuang felt a headache coming on. Seeing that the two princes were about to clash again, she quickly pulled her hand from Junmachin's grasp. She couldn't afford to offend either of them right now. She had to find someone of high status to reasonably defuse the situation. So, she walked over to the young Princess Changle and sat down. "Aunt Changle, how about I keep you company today?" A faint smile touched the corners of Prince Qingping's eyes. "My consort is quite clever." On the surface, Nan Yuqian said nothing, but inwardly he cursed, "That bitch. How dare she embarrass me in public? I'll make you pay for this later." His Majesty, the Emperor, arrives. Accompanied by the high-pitched announcement of a eunuch, the Emperor took his seat, accompanied by Consort Xian. The palace banquet soon began. Chen Shuxian took the stage to perform a ribbon dance. Her figure was as graceful as flowing water. As she danced, the colorful ribbons seemed to come alive, capturing the gaze of everyone present. Every glance she cast was filled with affection for Nan Yuqian, hoping to draw his attention. The second prince, Nan Yuqian, did not respond. However, the third prince, Nan Yuqian, was staring at Chen Shuxian, his eyes filled with a look of utter fascination. It was truly hard to watch. Feng Yingxuang lowered her head in embarrassment. What on earth was she thinking in her past life to believe the third prince was devoted and faithful, hopelessly in love with her? Sue Manru sat beside Nan Yutian, staring at him with a look of helpless longing. At this banquet, the emperor had decreed that the young lady from a noble house who gave the best performance could make one request. In her past life, Chen Shuxian had one, and she had brazenly requested to marry the second prince. Given the power and prestige of the Duke Qin's household, the emperor granted her request. This life, Feng Yingxuang would not let her succeed. As the performances went on one by one, Feng Yingxuang exchanged a look with Shening. Then, she walked onto the stage and bowed. Clearly, everything was ready. Feng Yingxuang gently plucked the strings, and a clear melody flowed forth, like a stream rushing through the hearts of the audience. Accompanied by the beautiful music, a graceful figure in a white dance costume emerged from behind screen. A white veil concealed her face, but it could not hide her profound and exquisite aura. Feng Yingxuang's music began like a trickling spring. Then suddenly the tempo swelled, evoking the image of standing atop a high mountain, gazing upon endless peaks. The woman's movements suddenly quickened, matching the rhythm seamlessly. All at once, the woman in white leaped into the air. Her wide white sleeves seemed to lengthen, transforming into long silk ribbons that dipped into a basin of ink. With a flick, specks of ink splattered onto a white screen. She was painting with her dance. Every sweep of the silk ribbons painted the screen with vibrant colors. The expressions of the crowd grew increasingly amazed. Even the second prince, Nan Yuchen, watched without blinking, afraid of missing a single moment. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the beautiful dancer in white. Only one person's gaze remained fixed on Feng Yingxuang. The screens continued to turn, each revealing an exquisite masterpiece. At this moment, Chen Shuxian was biting her lip and grinding her teeth in resentment. No matter how unconvinced she was, she couldn't say a word. It wasn't just her. Everyone gasped in amazement. It was simply too beautiful. The scenery was beautiful, the painting was beautiful, and the dancer was beautiful too. With a single stroke, a phoenix welcomes twin fish. Shun Ying bowed gracefully. This piece, High Mountains and Flowing Water, is dedicated to Your Highness, Consort Xian. I wish Your Highness a joyous birthday. Consort Xian was clearly so moved she was at a loss for words. The emperor shot to his feet and led the applause. What a magnificent High Mountains and Flowing Water. We have truly been enlightened today. You are the undisputed champion. We will certainly reward you handsomely. A hateful glint flashed in Chen Shuxian's eyes. She had worked so hard for so long, all to win the championship today and marry the second prince. Now, Feng Yingxuang had single-handedly destroyed it all. If the emperor hadn't been present, she would have wanted to rush up and tear Feng Yingxuang to pieces. A dance within the music, a painting within the dance. Miss Shun and Feng Yingxuang's collaboration was a magnificent display, winning the championship in one fell swoop. Feng Yingxuang's goal was to elevate Shun Ying completely, to make everyone forget the malicious rumors that had been heaped upon her, to make her shine, to become an object of adoration sought after by those princes and noble sons. After winning the top prize, Shun Ying did not make any requests of the emperor. This made the emperor regard her with even greater favor. As the palace banquet was drawing to a close, a shocking storm that would threaten the imperial power was about to unfold. Feng Yingxuang's most beloved elder sister, Consort Xian, would be framed for the crime of poisoning the crown prince, stripped of her title by the emperor, and thrown into the cold palace. The crown prince was the only child of the late empress. He was also the emperor's most beloved son. The late empress was the love of the emperor's life. Even though she had passed away many years ago, the emperor still couldn't forget her and had not appointed a new empress. Therefore, even though the crown prince was of mediocre talent, he was still a precious treasure in the emperor's heart. If his beloved son were to be poisoned to death, it would undoubtedly unleash the emperor's fury. At this moment, Nan Yutian and Consort Li exchanged a glance. Consort Li stood up and said with a smile, "This servant has heard that Sister Consort Sien is skilled at brewing wine. Today, might we be so fortunate as to join His Majesty in tasting the fine wine our sister has brewed herself." Consort Sien's skill in winemaking was superb, a fact known throughout the palace. Her osmanthus wine was especially famous. Even the emperor would drink a few cups whenever he visited her. Since Consort Li had made the request, Consort Sien naturally would not refuse. But at this moment, Feng Yingshuang's expression changed. Her nerves tensed. It was starting. In her past life, it was precisely because Consort Li had brought this up that Consort Sien had arranged for her maids to pour a cup of osmanthus wine for everyone. After drinking the osmanthus wine, the crown prince was immediately poisoned and died. Then, all fingers pointed to Consort Sien as the murderer. The osmanthus wine was personally brewed by Consort Sien. The ones who poured the wine were also Consort Sien's maids, so she naturally could not clear her name. Besides, so many others drank the wine and were fine. Why was it that only the crown prince was poisoned to death after drinking it? Wasn't the motive clear? Consort Sien wanted to kill the crown prince. Consort Sien had no way to defend herself. The palace maids first poured wine for the emperor, then, following protocol, poured a cup into everyone's goblet. Yingshuang noticed closely that when the wine was being poured for crown prince Nan Yuqing, the palace maid seemed to make a slight movement at the neck of the wine pot. A sinister glint immediately appeared in her eyes. So there really was something wrong with that palace maid. She was from Consort Sien's palace, yet she was helping others to frame her mistress. Finally, the wine had all been poured. After everyone expressed their thanks, they prepared to raise their cups. Just as the crown prince was about to drink the poisoned wine, Feng Yingshuang suddenly stood up and shouted, "Wait!" All eyes were drawn to her. Feng Yingshuang had no choice but to speak. "This humble girl just suddenly remembered that I have yet to offer a few auspicious words. It feels incomplete, so I want to take this opportunity to congratulate His Majesty and Her Highness Consort Sien, and wish that your love may bless you with several more young princes." So that was it. Everyone was aware of her relationship with Consort Sien, so it was understandable for her to be a little eager. Others wished for such an opportunity to curry favor, but couldn't get one. After speaking, Feng Yingshuang turned to return to her seat. As she passed by the crown prince, she suddenly let out a startled, "Ayo." She had accidentally stepped on the hem of her own dress, causing her to stumble towards Nan Yuqing. As she bumped into him, she also managed to accidentally knock over the wine cup on his table. Feng Yingshuang put on a panicked expression that, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I accidentally bumped into your highness. Please forgive me, your highness." Nan Yuqing had always been timid by nature, so of course, he didn't say anything. But this scene looked entirely different to others. Feng Yingshuang was already entangled with both the third prince and Prince Qingping, which was messy enough as it was. Is she trying to seduce His Highness the Crown Prince, the dignified daughter of the Grand Tutor, to actually throw herself at the Crown Prince during a royal banquet? And just a moment ago, Feng Yingshuang was entangled with the third prince and King Qingping. Is she trying to seduce the Crown Prince now? The third prince, Nan Yutian's eyes narrowed dangerously, his gaze on Feng Yingshuang filled with ice-cold contempt. This promiscuous woman wasn't making a cuckold of me once enough. Does she want to give me another? However, Consort Li's attention was clearly different from everyone else's. She immediately gave an urgent order: pour the Crown Prince another cup of wine. At Consort Li's signal, the palace maid who had just poured wine for the Crown Prince stepped forward again and refilled his cup. Such a vicious scheme. It seems the culprit who murdered the Crown Prince and framed Consort Sien in my past life was indeed Consort Li. She watched as Nan Yuqing raised his cup once again. Feng Yingshuang steeled her heart and had no choice but to repeat her old trick. She carelessly stumbled and fell onto him again. This time, not only was the wine cup shattered, but Nan Yuqing's clothes were also splashed and soaked. His expression changed instantly. He felt that this Feng Yingshuang was deliberately trying to embarrass him. Originally, his imperial father had even considered having the crown prince marry Feng Yingshuang, as his crown princess. But first, she was entangled with the third prince, and today she was getting tangled up with King Qingping. This crown prince truly cannot handle such a woman. The crowd shot her strange looks. Even the emperor's face was grim. Feng Yingshuang tried to get up, but the push from Nan Yuqing had made her fall too hard, and she had twisted her ankle. Now, her ankle was burning with pain, making it impossible for her to walk. Seeing her fall and struggle to get up, Shuning rushed over to help her. But unexpectedly, a fair, slender hand reached her first. With a flutter of elegant sleeves, Feng Yingshuang found herself in his arms. It was none other than Feng Yingshuang's husband in name, King Qingping. King Qingping was actually defending Feng Yingshuang in public. Didn't he see that she was suffering the consequences of her own actions, trying to seduce other men? Why would he still step forward to help her? Jun Machun looked at the emperor and said coolly, Yingshuang caught a cold a few days ago. Later, she overworked herself preparing for Her Majesty Consort Xian's birthday. That is why she lost her composure in the hall. I am here to apologize on her behalf. Seeing that even King Qingping had stepped forward to speak for her, the crowd immediately quieted down and watched the drama unfold. The emperor immediately waved his hand and said, Yingshuang is unwell, yet she worked so hard. It has been difficult for you. Go and rest quickly. Crown Prince Nan Yuqing no longer had any interest in drinking and returned to the Eastern Palace to change his clothes. Seeing the crown prince leave, Feng Yingshuang finally breathed a sigh of relief. As long as he didn't die here, it would be fine. Even if he were to drop dead after returning, it would have nothing to do with Consort Xian. Consort Xian's crisis was averted. She would end up being framed for murdering the crown prince in her past life. With this, Feng Yingshuang was finally at ease. Yingshuang is unwell. This king will take her back to the Grand Tutor's residence first. We take our leave. After saying this, Jun Machun directly led Feng Yingshuang away. Everyone subconsciously glanced at Nan Yutian's face. His expression was dark and sullen. Being made a cuckold time and time again certainly couldn't feel good. However, his frustration at this moment was not just because of that. After the palace banquet ended, the others left one by one. Shining had just stood up when she was called to a halt. She saw the second prince, Nan Yuqian, with a gentle smile, his handsome face captivating. Miss Shun, it might be dangerous for you to return alone. Why don't I escort you? Shining blushed slightly. I wouldn't dare trouble your highness. I can go back by myself. It's no trouble. This prince is also returning to his residence. We are heading in the same direction. Let's go together. Shining had no choice but to agree. As she left with Nan Yuqian, she was met with the envious glares of countless noble ladies. What virtues or abilities did she possess? Her background wasn't even prominent, yet she received a personal invitation from the second prince. Everyone knew that the second prince had always been ascetic and aloof, with no women by his side. Shining was the very first. Feng Yingshuang had just thrown herself at the crown prince, yet King Qingping defended her in public. One would have thought the matter was over. Unexpectedly, she was about to face her husband's punishment. Feng Yingshuang was carried out of the imperial palace. Then, she was placed inside the horse-drawn carriage. The carriage moved along, but the two of them sat in silence. Since Jun Machun wasn't speaking, Feng Yingshuang had nothing to say either. She didn't feel the need to report everything she did to Jun Machun. Besides, she hadn't done anything to feel guilty about. Seeing that they were about to reach the Grand Tutor's residence, Feng Yingshuang prepared to get up, when she was suddenly pulled in by a large hand, and her entire body fell onto Jun Machun. What are you doing? Jun Machun's eyes were deep and dark. When you were throwing yourself into another man's arms just now, didn't you seem to be enjoying it? How is it that when it comes to your own husband, you look so wronged and forced? It was only then that Feng Yingshuang belatedly realized. It turned out Jun Machun had been suppressing his anger this whole time. Now, he was finally letting it out. Feng Yingshuang explained faintly, "Please don't misunderstand." Jun Machun had no intention of letting it go. Misunderstand. Hugging another man in front of everyone. Do you take this king for a dead man? You had better give me a reasonable explanation. Otherwise, this king will certainly deal with you according to family law. Family law? What family law? Feng Yingshuang was rendered a little speechless. It seemed he was taking his so-called husband status very seriously. Actually, I was just trying to save someone. In that situation, I had no other way to save him. Jun Machun pondered for a moment, his expression changing. You were trying to save the crown prince? He thought of how she had knocked over the crown prince's wine cup twice. Could it be that the crown prince's wine was poisoned? Jun Machen quickly pieced together the cause and effect. The crown prince was drinking consort Xian's osmanthus wine, and the one who poured the wine was also consort Xian's servant. If something had happened, consort Xian would have been unable to escape the blame. He knew the severity of the matter. So after hearing Feng Yingshuang's explanation, most of his anger naturally dissipated. But you concealed such a huge matter from this king. This woman is utterly disobedient. This king will now enforce the family law upon you. What? Hadn't she confessed to get a lighter sentence? Why did he still want to punish her? Is this man reasonable at all? Before Feng Yingshuang had time to react, she was pulled tightly into his arms. He pressed her body down onto the soft seat of the carriage. Then a fiery kiss stole all her breath. It was only at this moment that she understood what the so-called family law actually meant. In the end, Feng Yingshuang was carried out of the carriage by Jun Machen. When she got off, her face was crimson, her breathing was unsteady, and she buried her head deep in his chest, completely still. The man holding her was clearly in a great mood. It was as if he had gained some great benefit. It wasn't until Ruo Shui came in to attend to Feng Yingshuang's bath that Feng Yingshuang's face was still red. Her already beautiful face, under the glow of the lamps, looked even more delicate and charming. Feng Yingshuang was almost killed today. Consort Li is the most vicious consort in the entire harem. At this moment, she was at her dressing table. In the current harem, the emperor only has eyes for consort Xian. Originally, consort Li had wanted to poison the crown prince and frame consort Xian, killing two birds with one stone. Unexpectedly, Feng Yingshuang ruined her plan. The crown prince is mediocre and incompetent, but as long as he is alive, the emperor will never pass the position of heir apparent to anyone else. Nan Yutian swore resentfully that he would definitely find another chance to assassinate the crown prince. On the other side, Feng Yingshuang was also trying to find a way to take down Nan Yutian and uproot his power. Relying on the unique advantage of her memories from her past life, Feng Yingshuang arrived early at the Prince of Qingping's mansion, wanting to plot with Jun Machen. But unexpectedly, a woman in a blue martial arts uniform rushed in like an arrow. In the next second, the woman's expression changed drastically. The sword in her hand, not yet fully drawn, thrust straight towards Feng Yingshuang's heart. "Hussy, you dare seduce the prince? I'll kill you." The person who arrived was the Prince of Qingping's trusted guard, Yueying. The Yueying siblings grew up with the Prince of Qingping and were his core confidants. It all happened too fast. Feng Yingshuang had no time to react. In the nick of time, Jun Machen had already lunged forward and grabbed the blade. Fresh blood immediately gushed out, dripping continuously down the sword's edge. Seeing Jun Machen injured, Yueying panicked. "Your Highness, are you all right?" Jun Machen furiously reprimanded her. "Insolence. For assaulting the princess consort, you will receive 20 lashes. Get out." "What? Princess consort?" The prince has a new princess consort. She had only been away from the capital for a month, and another woman had appeared in the mansion. Yueying felt wronged and terrified. The prince was treating her this way for a woman. Damn it. She would make sure Feng Yingshuang became the 8th dead consort in this mansion. Let's see what fate she has to dream of touching the man she loves. After Yueying left, Jun Machen stopped Feng Yingshuang. "Come inside and help this king clean the wound. There is medicinal powder in the study." Feng Yingshuang was very cooperative, finding the medicine, bandaging the wound, and serving tea and water. Jun Machen watched her bustling about for him and couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude. He grabbed Feng Yingshuang's hand. "The matter you asked of this king earlier, this king will consider it carefully. However, you see my hand is injured. As this king's princess consort, you are to come and change my bandages every day from now on. How about it?" Feng Yingshuang wanted Jun Machen to expose Nin Yutian's crime of secretly raising an army. She certainly couldn't let Grand Tutor Feng get involved himself, as that would undoubtedly bring harm to the Feng family. Besides, Jun Machen holds the military power of Southern Chu. If Nan Yutian were to ascend the throne in the future, he would surely not tolerate him. Therefore, Nan Yutian is Jun Machen's natural enemy. Jun Machen saw through Feng Yingshuang's little scheme. He gazed gently at Feng Yingshuang's cheek. "Since my beloved consort wants to use me as her weapon, I am more than willing to oblige." Meanwhile, Yueying was receiving her punishment. But everyone in the manor knew of the relationship between the siblings, Yueying and Yueling, and the prince. Even if she was being spanked, they wouldn't be heavy-handed. At most, it was just for show. When Feng Yingshuang was about to leave the prince's manor, Yueying came to provoke Feng Yingxuang, standing tall and proud. Seeing Yueying looking so full of life, Feng Yingxuang couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. It seems the so-called 20 strokes of the plank were just empty words to fool me. And I actually thought he really liked me. How I've been flattering myself. Feng Yingxuang was determined to take down Chen Shuxian, the legitimate daughter of Duke Chun. Destroy her mind, crush her ideals, and make the person she loves most watch helplessly as her reputation is ruined. Her bet with Chen Shuxian had already spread throughout the capital. Feng Yingxuang guaranteed that she would find a better marriage match for Shen Ying within a month. If she lost, she would become Chen Shuxian's maidservant. If she won, she would pull out Chen Shuxian's tongue. One day, Jun Machin accompanied Feng Yingxuang and Miss Shun to go out and relax. They ended up at the residence of the second prince, Nan Yuchen. The second prince saw how close Feng Yingxuang and Prince Qingping were and couldn't help but feel puzzled. Sister Yingxuang, aren't you planning to marry my third brother anymore? But Feng Yingxuang just sighed softly. The third prince has a noble status. He will surely meet a better woman in the future. Then her gaze shifted to Shen Ying, and she smiled faintly. Ate the palace banquet that day. Sister Shun's stunning dance truly captured the third prince's heart. Back then, Sister Shun got into the wrong bridal sedan and was carried to the third prince's manor. I'm afraid he now regrets sending such a delicate beauty like Sister Shun away. Hearing this, Nan Yuchen's expression changed. Inger, is this true? Shen Ying nodded, acting according to the plan Feng Yingxuang had arranged with her beforehand. I suppose the third prince only pitied me. Now that my reputation is ruined, I am destined to never marry in this life. The third prince is kind-hearted, so he offered to marry me as a secondary consort to help me out of my predicament. They deliberately avoided saying anything bad about Nan Yuchen, instead portraying him as a tolerant and kind person. Nan Yuchen immediately became anxious. Although Nan Yuchen was his younger brother, he had clearly given up on Shen Ying already. Why would he suddenly want to marry her now? What was this all about? He hurriedly asked, then what are your thoughts on this? He didn't care what others thought now. He just wanted to hear what Shen Ying had to say. Shen Ying silently lowered her head. My reputation is ruined. I have decided to spend the rest of my life in a nunnery, being filial to my parents. How could I dare to aspire to marry the third prince? When Nan Yuchen heard she intended to become a nun, he threw all caution to the wind. He suddenly stood up and took Shen Ying's hand out. Inger, how could you have such thoughts? A wonderful woman like you deserves to be cherished. Why don't you marry me? A triumphant smile flashed in Feng Yingxuang's eyes. It seemed her guess was spot on. This was the power of love. Shen Ying was completely stunned, never expecting him to say such a thing. She blushed and nervously pulled her hand back. In her eyes, the second prince was someone to be admired from afar, completely out of her reach. Her first reaction wasn't shyness, but panic and bewilderment. Nan Yuchen didn't give up. Instead, he stepped closer to her, looking at her with deep affection. You are the first woman to show me what it feels like to have my heart stirred. That day, your stunning dance was deeply engraved in my heart, and I can't get it out of my mind. I have also kept your painting and hung it in my study to admire every day. Whenever I look at it, your every frown and smile flashes through my mind. I have never felt this way before. The handsome and noble man made a heartfelt confession, and romance filled the air. Originally, Nan Yuchen hadn't planned to confess so soon, but hearing what Feng Yingxuang said gave him a sense of crisis, and he feared it would be too late if he didn't speak up now. A faint blush appeared on Shen Ying's face. Nan Yuchen said excitedly, if you become my princess consort, I will definitely protect you. What? This sentence made Shen Ying's heart race even faster. Not only did he want to marry her, but as his principal consort. One must know that countless women didn't even qualify to enter the second prince's manor as a concubine, let alone the sacred position of princess consort. Seeing Shen Ying at a loss, Feng Yingxuang couldn't help but chuckle. Sister Shun, you know, in all the years I've known Brother Yuchen, this is the first time I've seen him so attentive to a woman. I can guarantee he would be the best husband in the world. If you could marry him, it would truly be a blessing earned over lifetimes. He said it so casually, not knowing that a pair of eyes was watching him intently from behind. What do you mean, the best husband in the world? Am I not good enough for you? This girl really needs to be taught a lesson. It seems he needs to find a proper opportunity to discipline her. Besides, if the second prince marries Miss Shun, what will become of the noble Chen Shuxian, the only daughter of Duke Chun? Feng Yingshuang was knocked unconscious by Chen Shuxian. It turned out that today was the grand opening of Qianlong, the most luxurious hotel in the capital. Feng Yingshuang hung a banner across the street, booking the most expensive private room at Qianxiang Tower for a whole month. With such an extravagant display, she was blatantly telling everyone, I, Feng Yingshuang, am the most dazzling person in the capital. She brought her personal maids, Ruo Shui and Sue Manru, to dine at Tianxiang Tower. The moment Sue Manru saw the food, her eyes lit up and she began gobbling it down, her mouth greasy. Suddenly, an incredibly familiar, sharp, and harsh female voice came from outside. Get out of the way. This lady is taking this private room upstairs. The manager of the tower, with a troubled face, tried his best to stop her. This private room has already been booked. The guests inside are very distinguished. Chen Shuxian, with an arrogant and domineering expression, retorted, outside the palace walls, how many are more noble than this lady? She wasn't wrong. Duke Chun was a pillar of the state, the second most powerful figure who had long stood as a rival to Grand Preceptor Feng. With a kick, Chen Shuxian smashed the door open. She saw the noble and beautiful Feng Yingshuang sitting there coldly. It's you. Chen Shuxian remembered the humiliation Feng Yingshuang had subjected her to at the palace banquet. Moreover, she had caused the second prince to take an interest in Shening, that vixen. She couldn't help but tremble with anger, wishing she could lunge forward and scratch Feng Yingshuang's face. Feng Yingshuang's eyes were full of mockery. I was wondering who was shouting outside. So it's Miss Chun making such a scene. Did Duke Chen not teach you what manners are? How could Chen Shuxian tolerate such humiliation? She immediately retorted, no matter how ill-mannered I am, it's better than someone who pretends to be pure and innocent on the surface, but is actually promiscuous and more shameless than a woman from a brothel. Or was this fickle nature of yours taught by your grandfather, Grand Preceptor Feng? If that's the case, Grand Preceptor Feng is truly disrespectful for his age. This was no longer a quarrel between two women. It had escalated into a conflict between two families. The commoners present trembled as they listened, not daring to breathe. Feng Yingshuang's willow-like brows furrowed. She swiftly slapped Chen Shuxian across the face. The next second, a fiery pain spread across Chen Shuxian's cheek. The sole daughter of the Duke's mansion, slapped in front of everyone. This was an utter disgrace. Chen Shuxian exploded. Feng Yingshuang, I'll fight you to the death today. Without another word, Chen Shuxian charged forward, desperately pulling at Feng Yingshuang's hair and trying to scratch her face. Then, she landed a hard slap on Feng Yingshuang's face, so forceful that a trace of blood trickled from the corner of her mouth. Feng Yingshuang continued to glare at her, her eyes blazing with fire. Slap. Another vicious slap. Chen Shuxian used all her strength, so much that her hand went slightly numb. You and that Shunning are both sluts. How dare you have designs on the second prince? Let me tell you, the position of second princess is mine. That slut Shunning is not worthy at all. She decided to deal with Feng Yingshuang first today. Then she would deal with Shunning to let them know the price of provoking her. She had been completely consumed by rage, utterly disregarding the consequences of her actions. 2 more hard slaps followed. Then she pushed Feng Yingshuang to the ground. Ruo Shui was stunned. She quickly rushed forward to help her lady. Meanwhile, the two-faced friend Sue Manru tried to make herself inconspicuous, staying out of it as if it had nothing to do with her. A moment later, a deafening crash came from outside. The door to the private room was shattered into countless pieces. Who has the audacity to strike this prince's consort? Chen Shuxian turned her head and saw a tall, stately figure in black, his face covered by a ferocious bronze mask, like a judge from hell. Her heart leaped in fear, but following him was another figure in purple. When he entered and saw the scene, a clear look of shock and disbelief flashed in his eyes. It was the man Chen Shuxian loved most, the second prince, Nan Yuchen. Feng Yingshuang was truly ruthless. To ensure the second prince could smoothly marry Shaning, she didn't hesitate to use a self-harm ploy to provoke Chen Shuxian into attacking her. What were a few slaps in comparison? In her previous life, she had already suffered all kinds of torture from Nan Yuchen and Sue Manru in prison. Her 10 fingers were even broken one by one. Now, just by enduring a few slaps, she could sever Chen Shuxian's path to marrying the second prince, Nan Yuchen. Feng Yingshuang was more than willing to make this deal with such a high rate of return. Zhu Machun kicked the door open. Seeing Feng Yingshuang collapsed on the floor, his heart ached. He carefully gathered her into his arms, his entire being radiating an incredibly menacing and dangerous aura. Chen Shuxian clearly felt that this man wanted to kill her. Sensing that things were taking a bad turn, Nan Yuqin quickly stood in front of Jun Machun. I will definitely report this matter to my father, the emperor. Please, Prince Qingping, calm your anger. In any case, Chen Shuxian is the only daughter of Duke Chun. Taking her life would undoubtedly lead to an irreversible situation. Prince Qingping restrained his anger. He swiftly dealt Chen Shuxian a few blows and then hurriedly left with Feng Yingshuang in his arms. After the doctor had seen her and everyone was dismissed, Zhu Machun said softly to the girl on the bed, "Everyone's gone now. Get up." After a quarter of an hour of silence, his beloved girl remained motionless. Jun Machun gently lifted her chin. Has my consort truly fainted? In that case, kissing my own princess consort wouldn't make me a lecher, would it? As he spoke, he leaned in with a mischievous smile. Feng Yingshuang on the bed quickly covered her mouth. Oops, I've been exposed. She shot up in embarrassment. Was my acting that bad? Jun Machun smiled faintly. You are indeed a very good actress. It's only Chen Shuxian. My consort, don't act like this in the future. It makes my heart ache. Feng Yingshuang's heart seemed to have been touched. She let go of her previous pretense and, for the first time, softly drew close to the man rumored to be cold-blooded and ruthless. And what about you, your highness? Was your anger just now an act as well? Hearing his beloved consort ask this for the first time, Jun Machun couldn't hide the smile at the corners of his mouth. He suddenly pressed down, pinning Feng Yingshuang beneath him. To think I've made my princess consort harbor such doubts. That is my fault. I need to prove my intentions. After speaking, he swiftly closed in on Feng Yingshuang's red lips, looking as if he was about to kiss her. The heated air swirled between them. Feng Yingshuang's heart began to pound violently. The overwhelming kiss she had imagined never came. Jun Machun only placed a gentle kiss on Feng Yingshuang's forehead, his expression one of utmost sincerity. He gazed deeply at the girl he loved. I have given my entire heart to you. Can you not feel it? Feng Yingshuang understood his sincerity, but said nothing. She stubbornly shook her head. We are merely in a cooperative relationship. The reborn Feng Yingshuang had always spoken in a cold and ruthless manner. It was hard to tell if she was truly heartless or just being contrary. Jun Machun didn't press her any further. The border is in crisis. I must leave the capital for a while. I came this time to bid you farewell. In my absence, my consort, remember not to act rashly. Hearing this, Feng Yingshuang was slightly taken aback. She longed to ask him when he would return and if there would be danger, but the words caught in her throat. The battlefield is filled with blood and slaughter. Life and death are unpredictable. Asking for a return date would only add to his troubles. My consort, you are now surrounded by enemies. I am leaving Yueying and Yueling to protect you in secret. If any issues arise, you may command them. Upon hearing their names, Feng Yingshuang couldn't agree. I don't know Yueling, but judging by Yueying's temperament, I'll be thanking the heavens if he doesn't harm me. Didn't he almost pierce my heart with an arrow last time? However, she indeed had another tough battle ahead of her. Nan Yuqian, Feng Yingshuang, will make you pay in blood. Shamelessness, it seems, can be hereditary. Chen Shuxian is shrewish and mean. Her father, Duke Chun, is naturally no saint either. Grand Tutor Feng and Prince Qingping went to the palace for an audience with the emperor to seek justice for the beaten Feng Yingshuang. But unexpectedly, the tables were turned on them. Duke Chun had already arranged for the scarred Chen Shuxian to be carried before the emperor to file a complaint. Even though it was Prince Qingping, Jun Machun, who had beaten Chen Shuxian, it didn't stop them from framing Feng Yingshuang. Seeing Grand Tutor Feng arrive, Duke Chen's gaze grew even more hostile. I implore your majesty to grant justice for my daughter. The Southern Emperor coughed heavily a few times. Grand Tutor Feng, we have heard that yesterday at the Tianxiang Pavilion, Duke Chen's daughter and your granddaughter, Yingshuang, had a conflict, which ultimately led to a physical altercation. Is this true? Grand Tutor Feng hadn't expected Duke Chun to be the villain who strikes the first blow by complaining. It was utterly shameless. My granddaughter, Ying Shuang is still unconscious. As the main culprit, Miss Chun doesn't even understand the basic courtesy of visiting to apologize. This is truly outrageous. This old subject has come today precisely to seek justice for Ying Shuang. The Southern Emperor heard two completely different accounts and was somewhat at a loss. Both parties were important ministers. Before the matter was investigated, he couldn't rashly make a decision. Otherwise, wouldn't he risk disheartening a loyal official? But soon after, the second prince slowly walked in. "Father Emperor, your son can testify. It was Miss Chun who trespassed into the private room where Ying Shuang was dining. That's what caused the conflict. Miss Chun was far too insolent. She clearly broke the rules, yet she resorted to violence and injured someone. If I and Prince Qingping hadn't arrived in time, who knows what state Sister Ying Shuang would have been tortured into." Then, Nan Yuqin brought in the manager of Tianxiang Pavilion to testify for Feng Ying Shuang. Seeing the situation was not in his favor, Duke Chun, knowing that a wise man submits to circumstances, quickly began to plead for mercy. I beg your majesty to consider my daughter's youth and ignorance and let her off this once. If there is to be a punishment, punish me instead." Hearing this, the third prince, Nan Yuqian, who hadn't said a peep until now, immediately jumped in to mediate the dispute. This matter, when it comes down to it, is just a small affair. There's no need to blow it up in the imperial court. The person you should be apologizing to is Grand Preceptor Feng. It was your daughter who injured Ying Shuang, causing her to remain unconscious even now. Since the mistake has already been made, you should sincerely ask for forgiveness. Turn a big problem into a small one, and a small one into nothing. This will save Father Emperor from worrying over this matter and prevent unrest in the court and its foundations. Duke Qin was naturally no fool. Seeing this, he immediately stood up, walked before Grand Preceptor Feng, and bowed with his hands clasped. "Grand Preceptor Feng, it was all my fault. I didn't understand the situation at first and misunderstood Miss Feng after hearing my daughter's one-sided story. Once Miss Feng has recovered, I will certainly bring my daughter to your residence to apologize. We will let Miss Feng scold and hit her to vent her anger until she can forgive my daughter. What do you think?" Duke Qin spoke so smoothly, he didn't even need a script. Grand Preceptor Feng fell silent for a moment. His Majesty's health was currently poor, so it was really not good to continue dragging this out. The other party had already apologized. If he continued to press the issue, wouldn't it seem like he was abusing his favor and acting arrogant? At this moment, Nan Yuqian spoke up again. "Since Duke Chun is so sensible, please take Miss Chun back and discipline her well to prevent any more trouble in the future." Nan Yuqian was clearly giving them a way out. Duke Chun lifted his head and glanced at Nan Yuqian, a dark, unreadable look flashing in his eyes. He bowed once more to everyone with clasped hands and swiftly left with Chen Shuxian. The scumbag found out that Feng Ying Shuang was still a virgin. It turned out she had never consummated her marriage with Prince Qingting. Sue Manru, with false sincerity, went to the Grand Preceptor's residence to visit the injured Feng Ying Shuang. Seeing Feng Ying Shuang lying there weakly, she felt an immense sense of satisfaction. Before, every time she saw this devastatingly beautiful face, she had the urge to slap it several times and then slash it with a knife. Now that someone had done what she didn't dare to do, Sue Manru was of course delighted. At this moment, a thin layer of sweat beaded on Feng Ying Shuang's forehead. Sue Manru told Ruo Shui to get a towel, saying she wanted to wipe Feng Ying Shuang's body. The bed curtains in the Grand Preceptor's residence were gauzy and very sheer. Ruo Shui felt she couldn't cause much trouble, so she didn't refuse. Sue Manru feigned to unfasten Feng Ying Shuang's clothes, then dampened a cotton cloth with water, preparing to gently wipe her body. But a moment later, her movements paused slightly, her pupils suddenly dilating, because she saw something incredible. On that snow-white arm, a bright red chastity mark was exceptionally striking. But Feng Ying Shuang shouldn't be a virgin anymore. She clearly remembered the third prince saying that Prince Qingping and Feng Ying Shuang had both personally admitted that they had already consummated their marriage. If that's the case, why would she still have a chastity mark? This can only mean one thing. Prince Qingping and Feng Ying Shuang conspired to lie, deceiving the third prince together. No, I have to go tell the third prince. Sue Manru bid farewell to Ruo Shui and then hurried away. When Nan Yuqian learned of this news, he was completely stunned. That damn bitch. How dare she deceive me? Sue Manru was also extremely shocked. Why would Feng Ying Shuang deceive us? Could it be that the wrong sedan chair incident was really something she orchestrated herself? But before the wedding, your relationship was always so good. Why would she suddenly do something like this? Nan Yutian trembled with rage, wishing he could go to the Grand Preceptor's residence and tear Feng Yingshuang to shreds. With a slap, he struck Sue Manru across the face. Useless trash. Why didn't you come and tell me sooner? Sue Manru was panic-stricken. Has Feng Yingshuang been acting all this time? No, I cannot lose my usefulness. Nan Yutian was beyond furious. He vented all his anger on Sue Manru. He threw her to the ground and mercilessly began to strangle her. A scumbag is a scumbag. He is ruthless to the noble young lady and shows no mercy to the green tea either. Sue Manru clutched the corner of his robe, begging bitterly, "Your Highness, please give me one more chance. I have a way to make Feng Yingshuang your woman." Nan Yutian glanced at her contemptuously. His patience was clearly limited. Sue Manru's eyes darted around. A ruthless glint flashed in his eyes. It doesn't matter who holds Feng Yingshuang's heart. As long as your Highness possesses her, won't everything else just fall into place? Possess her. Hearing this, Nan Yutian's brow twitched as if it had given him an idea. Feng Yingshuang, that bitch. Since you were the one who deceived me first, I will grant your wish. The emperor is granting a marriage between the second prince and Shunning. Duke Chun, knowing a wise man submits to circumstances, immediately admitted his mistake. In the dead of night, a carriage stopped quietly at the entrance of the third prince's residence. Duke Chun paid a personal visit to thank Nan Yutian for defending him in court. However, gratitude does not imply allegiance. For now, the crown prince is still the emperor's most favored son. With the overall situation undecided, how could Duke Chun so easily pick a side? Having learned his lesson from the second prince's affair, he no longer dared to act rashly. Instead, he tried his best to play both sides, offending no one and keeping his options open with everyone. It was also at this time that the second prince, Nan Yuchen, reported to the emperor. He stated that Shun Ying was the girl he had fallen for at first sight and hoped to marry her as his princess consort, begging his father emperor to grant his wish. Under normal circumstances, out of respect for Duke Chun, the emperor would at most allow Shun Ying to be a secondary consort and would have forced Nan Yuchen to first marry Chen Shuxian as his primary consort. But now, with Chen Shuxian's reputation in tatters, it was understandable that the second prince was unwilling to marry her. At this moment, the Duke Chen residence was in chaos. Chen Shuxian was heartbroken, throwing a massive fit. "All of you get out. The second prince is going to marry that bitch Shunning. What's the point of me living anymore?" Duke Chen's eyes were filled with pain. "There are plenty of men in the world, my daughter. Don't do anything rash." Chen Shuxian became even more hysterical. "Why did this happen? Why does the second prince want to marry that bitch Shunning? I was here first. I've loved him for so many years." Duke Chen had no choice but to bring up the emperor. "The imperial edict has been issued. There's nothing father can do." Chen Shuxian continued her tantrum that "I don't care. I must marry the second prince. As long as I can be by his side, I'm willing to be just a secondary consort, even a concubine." What a joke. How could the precious daughter of the Duke's residence be reduced to being someone's concubine? Duke Chen himself would never agree. "Silly child, can't you see? The second prince doesn't like you at all." That day, in front of the emperor, he even helped Feng Yingshuang kick you while you were down. "You've loved him for so many years, and I have repeatedly expressed my desire to pledge allegiance to him. It's one thing for him to not appreciate it, but now he harms us like this." Duke Chun now hated the Feng family, the Prince of Qingping, and the second prince to the bone. Although Chen Shuxian was willful and spoiled, she wasn't a complete fool. She understood what her father was saying. But how could the feelings she had harbored for so many years be let go so easily? Now, after her father's wake-up call, her love immediately turned to hate. She hated those who stood in her way, preventing her from getting her heart's desire. She would have her revenge and make sure none of them had a good day. Duke Chen reminded her at the right moment. "Father has already promised that after Feng Yingshuang awakens, I will bring you to her door to apologize." If we fail to do so, we will be guilty of deceiving the monarch. Chen Shuxian's eyes widened. You want me to apologize to that bitch Feng Yingxuang? Impossible. If she hadn't caused all this trouble, how would I have ended up in this situation? I wish I could just kill her, eat her flesh, and drink her blood. But if we don't apologize, the Feng family will surely not let this matter rest. Chen Shuxian's fingers clenched into tight fists, the veins on the back of her hands bulging. After an internal struggle, she coldly uttered a sentence. Father, I want to marry the crown prince. What? Feng Yingxuang wants to rip out the evil woman's tongue. One day, the entrance to the Grand Tutor's residence was bustling, with many commoners gathered and whispering among themselves. Duke Chen gave Chen Shuxian a look, signaling her to hurry up and apologize. Chen Shuxian reluctantly stepped forward and said in an icy tone about what happened that day. I'm sorry. Is this her so-called apology? It's utterly ridiculous. If I were to stab you a few times right now and then just say sorry, would you be able to forgive me? Chen Shuxian glared at her. Feng Yingxuang, don't go too far. I've already apologized. What more do you want? Besides, aren't you standing here perfectly fine? Don't forget, you were the one who struck first. I haven't even settled the score for that slap you gave me. Insolence. Grand Tutor Feng, who had been silent until now, slammed his hand on the table. If you have no sincerity in your apology, then let's handle this officially. With Miss Chen's crimes of bullying others under the emperor's nose and ordering an assault, I'm afraid a few years in prison will be unavoidable. Chen Shuxian trembled with fear. The situation was clear. If she didn't behave, she would be facing prison time. Chen Shuxian steeled herself, then knelt on the ground. Feng Yingxuang, I was wrong about what happened that day. I'm sorry. Feng Yingxuang let out a light laugh. Since Miss Chen admits to hitting me, it's time to return the favor. What? Chen Shuxian shouted angrily. Feng Yingxuang, you just want to see me make a fool of myself, don't you? This lady will grant your wish today. She raised her hand and slapped herself hard across the face. Just from the sound, one could tell the force of the slap was not light. Soon, 5 red marks appeared on her cheek, a shocking sight. Duke Chen watched her with a pained heart, but he couldn't step forward to stop her. Feng Yingxuang, are you happy now? I'm paying back everything I owe you today. In a frenzy, she kept slapping her own face hard, one crisp sound after another. In the end, even the Feng family couldn't bear to watch any longer. But Feng Yingxuang didn't even blink. Finally, Chen Shuxian's face was as swollen as a pig's head. This time, the Duke's mansion had truly lost all face. Duke Chen was both angry and heartbroken. He just wanted to leave this place quickly. But at that moment, a cold, demonic voice spoke up again. Miss Chen, surely you haven't forgotten the bet we made that day, have you? As she spoke, she ordered a maid to bring a dagger that glinted coldly. The loyal Ruo Shui immediately lifted her chin and stepped forward to explain. That day, Miss Chen personally made a bet with my lady. The bet was that if she lost, she would cut out her tongue and present it to my lady. Now it's time for her to fulfill her promise. Chen Shuxian was stunned the moment she saw the dagger. She dropped to her knees abruptly. Father, save me. Save me. I don't want my tongue cut out. Nonsense. Sienna was just joking with you. One's body, hair, and skin are gifts from one's parents. How can one wager them so lightly? This was just being shameless and playing dirty. Feng Yingxuang gave a light smile. There were many witnesses present that day. The palace servants and the young ladies from the various officials' families all heard your daughter's bet. Duke Chen's face flushed red and then turned pale with anger. He started looking for loopholes again. Your bet was about finding a better marriage for Shuning. The second prince and the third prince are both equally noble princes, so this bet doesn't count as Sienna's loss. Are you trying to say the third prince is inferior to the second prince? Before he could finish, Feng Yingxuang spoke up. The most important thing in a woman's marriage is mutual affection. The third prince is not in love with Shuning, whereas the second prince promised Shuning a lifetime with only her. Isn't that a better marriage? Besides, the entire capital knows your daughter is fond of the second prince and has pursued him bitterly for many years. Even though the second prince never gave her a second glance, she refused to give up. Doesn't that mean your daughter has never held the crown prince or the other princes in any regard? Duke Chen was once again choked speechless by her words. All right, if Duke Chen has no further objections, then it's time to fulfill your daughter's promise. It will hurt a little, but it'll be over if you just bear with it. Feng Yingxuang smiled as she took the knife from Ruo Shui. Before she could even reach Chen Shuxian, the latter let out a scream. No, I don't want it. Go away. Cutting out a tongue. Just imagining such a scene felt extremely cruel. Feng Ningxuang couldn't help but think of Qin Shuxian's difficult and ruthless personality. She often took her anger out on servants. Beatings and scoldings were minor things. Cutting out tongues, gouging out eyes, and even beating people to death were all normal for her. What goes around comes around. Now that it was her turn to face such a thing, she trembled with fear. Is her life a life? But the lives of those servants are not. No punishment would be too excessive for such a person. Duke Chun, seeing that the situation was hopeless, could only swallow his pride and begin to beg Miss Feng, please be the bigger person and forgive Xiener. I promise that after we return, I will make her reflect on her mistakes behind closed doors. She will never come out to cause trouble again. Probably no one had ever imagined that the always arrogant Duke Chun, who looked down on everyone, could be in such a pathetic state. But Feng Ningxuang did not back down at all. This bet was set by your daughter personally. Are you going to go back on your word in public? If word of this reaches the emperor, he surely wouldn't dare to entrust you with important matters in the future. Duke Qin thought viciously, this damn Feng Ningxuang. When did she become so sharp-tongued? Today, their Duke Qin's mansion had truly been utterly disgraced. This one more thing wouldn't make a difference. Duke Qin lifted the hem of his robe and knelt on the ground. A dignified, high-ranking court official was now kneeling to a young woman. What a visual shock this must be for the onlookers. Please, Miss Feng, be merciful and spare my daughter. With this, no matter what the father and daughter had done, this act of kneeling should have settled everything. For Duke Chun, kneeling, bowing his head, and enduring humiliation was probably more painful than being killed. But Feng Ningxuang would never forget, even in death. In her past life, the one who framed and pushed their Feng family to ruin was precisely this Duke Chun before her. Today's events were merely the beginning. She was just giving him a small punishment. She would make them truly feel the taste of falling from a great height. Can you imagine what the god of war, King Qingting, looks like without his mask? The majestic and steep Juesha Palace is located in the secret mausoleum 1,000 miles away. The 3,000 pavilions, built as if suspended in the air, resembled a celestial paradise. High above the azure sky, a figure in white was looking down from the mountain's peak. Not far away, a clear voice called out, "Lord Master, it is time for the briefing." The speaker was the foremost sacred hand of Juesha Palace, the enigmatic Chutan. The figure in white slowly turned. His eyes were like a startling spring, with 3,000 strands of black hair. His handsome face was like that of an exiled immortal from a painting. So beautiful one could not look away. "Lord Master, the Southern Emperor has already chosen a crown princess for his incompetent crown prince. Is the only daughter of the Duke of Chun Shuxian." Jun Machin smiled faintly. The Southern Emperor favors the art of checks and balances and is very wary of the Feng family. He is determined to secure the throne for his precious crown prince. Using the Duke of Chun to keep the Feng family in check was bound to happen sooner or later. It's not surprising. I just wonder how Shuang'er will react when she learns of this. Meanwhile, inside the Grand Tutor's mansion, Feng Ningxuang was concentrating on her needlework. Her maid, Ruo Shui, thoughtfully brought over a bamboo lamp that, "My lady, why don't you continue tomorrow? Don't tire yourself out." Feng Ningxuang was reluctant to let go, insisting, "Today's work must be finished today. Tomorrow has its own tasks." Ruo Shui touched her own cheek, imagining happily, when the prince returns in triumph and receives this pouch, he will surely be very moved. Hearing this, Feng Ningxuang blushed shyly. "Who said I was giving it to him? I'm just embroidering for fun." Seeing her lady's obvious attempt to hide her feelings, Ruo Shui was delighted. Suddenly, there was a sound at the door. "Sister, are you there?" Startled, Feng Ningxuang quickly hid the pouch under her pillow. It was Shuning. "Sister, Qin Shuxian has suddenly become the crown princess. Why was it so abrupt?" Feng Ningxuang said coldly, "In terms of talent and virtue, everyone knows the second prince is the best candidate to inherit the throne. But the crown prince was born to the late empress and is the emperor's most beloved son. When parents love a child, they plan far ahead for their future. The emperor will not allow anyone to covet the crown prince's position, nor will he let the other prince's factions grow too powerful. Right now, the second prince is on good terms with Prince Qingting and the Feng family. The emperor is naturally eager to find a powerful family-in-law for the crown prince. Therefore, Qin Shuxian is undoubtedly an excellent choice for crown princess." Hearing this, Shining frowned. I only hope the second prince can be safe and sound. I don't care about any throne. Feng Yingshuang gently comforted Shining. Silly sister, if only everyone were like you. But she didn't say her next thought aloud. The crown prince holds a high position, but lacks cunning. The third prince, Nan Yutian, considers him a thorn in his side. So, how long Qin Shuxian can hold the position of crown princess remains to be seen. We shall wait and see who has the last laugh. Just then, Ruo Shui hurried in to report, "My lady, the third prince's carriage has arrived. He invites you to the peach blossom forest where you first met to admire the flowers." Shining looked puzzled. From the events of the past few days, she also sensed that the third prince was unfathomable. "Sister, it might be dangerous for you to go." Ruo Shui also shook her head repeatedly, asking Shining to help persuade her lady. Feng Yingshuang looked back calmly. "It has been over a month since the bridal sedan mix-up. To rid myself of Nan Yutian's harassment, I must go in person to expose his true colors. But this trip is fraught with danger, so I specifically asked for your secret help, Sister Shun. With you as my backup, I can make a bold move. This is the most thrilling moment in the entire drama. The scumbag third prince is so vicious. He actually plotted to force his ex-girlfriend to drink poison wine. The place where Feng Yingshuang first met Nan Yutian was in a peach blossom forest on the mountainside of Putua Temple in the capital. The childhood memory felt like a movie from yesterday. At that time, she was panicked because she was lost. It was Nan Yutian who extended his small hand, gently guiding her. From then on, she developed a fondness for him, little knowing that falling for a scumbag at first sight would ruin her life and lead to a doomed romance. Before long, a figure in blue approached from behind. Nan Yutian looked at her with a gentle gaze and said, "Shuanger, you're here." Feng Yingshuang was already used to Nan Yutian's affectionate and innocent look, and her heart no longer stirred. She curtsied properly. "Third prince, for what reason have you summoned me today?" Nan Yutian took a step forward. "Shuanger, you've changed. The little girl who used to love acting spoiled with me has become so cold." Feng Yingshuang was unmoved. People grow up. They learn to see many things they couldn't understand before, don't they? Hearing this, Nan Yutian excitedly grabbed Feng Yingshuang's hand. "Shuang, what's wrong with you? Have you had a change of heart?" The sudden closeness startled Feng Yingshuang. "Third prince, men and women should maintain a respectful distance. Please conduct yourself with dignity." As the two struggled, a blue sachet quietly slipped from Feng Yingshuang's sleeve. On it was clearly embroidered the character June. Nan Yutian caught the sachet. "June, what a gentleman. You've fallen for June Machin, haven't you? How dare you betray me like this?" Feng Yingshuang snatched back the scented pouch. "Betray you? There was never anything between us to begin with." But Nan Yutian refused to listen to her explanation, viciously grabbing the wine cup from the stone table. "You forced my hand. Guards!" At his command, two figures in black rushed forward, appearing before Feng Yingshuang. Seeing that things were going wrong, Feng Yingshuang shouted with all her might, "Nan Yutian, what are you doing? You're trying to force me? Are you insane?" Nan Yutian coldly gripped Feng Yingshuang's chin. "Did you think I didn't know you're still a virgin? Since you love to act so much, I'll make your act a reality. After today, you'll truly be a ruined woman. Let's see what June Machin thinks of you then." As he spoke, he lifted the wine cup and forced it to Feng Yingshuang's lips. Feng Yingshuang struggled with all her might. "I have to hold on. I have to hold on until Shan Ying brings the second prince to expose Nan Yutian's true colors. Then I can escape." She continued to put on a brave face. "Nan Yutian, if you dare to harm me, my grandfather and father will never let you go." Nan Yutian burst out laughing. "What are you talking about? How could I possibly harm you? I'm only going to dote on you. So hot. I feel so awful." The cool temperature of the man before her unexpectedly made Feng Yingshuang feel an urge to draw closer and throw herself into his arms. "What did you put in the wine?" "Of course, it's something that will bring you pleasure." Nan Yutian looked at her as if she were a lamb on the chopping block. "With the Hahuan powder in your system, the next thing you know, you'll be begging me." At that moment, Feng Yingshuang suddenly felt a wave of despair. She had been too confident in herself, thinking that with her memories of a past life, she could control everything and change everyone's fate. But in that moment, she realized just how insignificant she was, unable to even change her own destiny. She closed her eyes in despair, and an image of a face wearing a bronze mask suddenly flashed through her mind. "June Machin, save me." She murmured his name, but he was far away at the border. How could he possibly hear her call? The drug's effects had reached their peak. Feng Yingxuang's vision blurred, and her consciousness began to fade. But in the peach grove behind her, two figures, one in azure and one in black, were watching her coldly. Feng Yingxuang was poisoned with the Hahuan powder. The plan was for Shaning to bring the second prince to catch them in the act. But at the critical moment, her good husband, Prince Qingping, had arrived early to save her. Standing by the window was Jun Machin, his disguise removed. Dressed in elegant white robes, he stood as gracefully as a jade tree in the wind. His long, dark hair cascaded down to his waist like a waterfall, and his every move exuded endless charm. "How is she?" The mysterious Chu Ten calmly uttered 3 words. "Hahuan powder." "She's been poisoned with Hahuan powder." "Then why aren't you saving her? She looks like she's in great pain." A faint, ambiguous meaning suddenly appeared in Chu Tan's gaze. Hahuan powder, as the name implies, has only one cure. If yin and yang do not join within 6 hours, her blood vessels will burst and she will die. Jun Machin froze. A cold glint instantly appeared on his incomparably handsome face. "Leave. Without my command, no one is to enter." Chu Tan hesitated. "Your Excellency, are you going to handle this personally?" "Hith, I kitite." He then gathered his things and scurried away. How could I possibly disturb His Excellency at a time like this? After Chu Tan left, the man in white looked at the woman on the bed, who was clearly on the brink of collapse. A complex expression appeared in his eyes, even containing a hint of incomprehensible tenderness. Hot, so hot. Feng Yingxuang felt like a fish thrown into boiling water, struggling and thrashing as the temperature rose. Jun Machin. Her lips trembled slightly as she spoke his name. Hearing this, the man's expression faltered. "Even now, you wish you were here to be the antidote for you?" He slowly lifted Feng Yingxuang, letting her lean against his shoulder. But when Feng Yingxuang slightly opened her eyes and saw an unfamiliar handsome face, she pushed him away. "You're not Jun Machin. Go away, go away." But the next second, she was overcome with agony again, her body weak and covered in sweat. The man could no longer restrain himself and pushed Feng Yingxuang down onto the bed. "Remember my name is Qian Yeshua." Passionate kisses fell upon her like rain. The great red candles burned through the night, and burning along with them were 2 feverish, unrestrained bodies. Early the next morning, 2 orioles chirped on a branch. When Feng Yingxuang awoke, she didn't even have the strength to lift a finger. The heat in her body had mostly subsided, replaced by an aching back and sore muscles. Her body felt as if it had been run over by a carriage. The sight made her blush and her heart race. Tears streamed down her face uncontrollably. Helpless despair made her panic. How could he start denying it now, taking advantage and then playing innocent? Feng Yingxuang quickly looked up. The next second, she saw a devastatingly beautiful face that could captivate all living things. His features were as picturesque as a painting, his skin like ice and his bones like jade. His thin lips were slightly parted, making them look even more delicate and alluring. His flawless, jade-like profile was simply a divine masterpiece, enough to make even a girl like Feng Yingxuang feel utterly plain in comparison. This person looks like a fox spirit. Is he really a man? But her body, which felt like it had been torn to pieces, was a stark reminder of the truth. "You scoundrel, I'll kill you." Thinking of how she had been framed and lost her innocence, Feng Yingxuang was overcome with grief. The man sneered, "The lotus parasol has no antidote. I originally had no intention of saving you, but you were the one who cried and begged me for help. Only then did I reluctantly assist you. Why are you denying it now?" Feng Yingxuang, furious and ashamed, snapped, "Shut up. Don't say another word." The man, who had never suffered such an unjust accusation and humiliation, smiled instead of getting angry. "Why shouldn't I say it? If I hadn't helped you, you'd still be lying disheveled in the peach blossom forest." "You." Feng Yingxuang was at a loss for words. She pressed a hand to her forehead. "Feng Yingxuang, you were reborn in this life only for revenge. There's no need to build a monument to your chastity here. Just leave quickly." She grabbed her tattered clothes from the side, which had been torn to shreds, and barely managed to wrap them around herself. Then she asked, "Where's my pouch?" The man feigned a lazy look. "What pouch?" Feng Yingxuang bit her lip. "That it's nothing. It's not important." Filled with forbearance, she clutched her clothes tightly and fled in disarray. A long time later, Zhu Machin gazed at the pouch, his heart unable to calm down for a long while. He whispered to the air, as if asking himself, is it really not important? Many things can be addictive. Once you have the first time, you'll naturally want a second. After losing her innocence, Feng Yingshuang hurried back to her residence. The people of the Feng residence were teary-eyed when they saw her. "Da Shuang, you're finally back." Feng Yingshuang admitted her mistake in shame. "I've made mother, father, and grandfather worry." But with things as they were, Feng Yingshuang could not just sit and wait for her doom. She immediately discussed a plan with Grand Preceptor Feng, asking him to go to the palace for an audience with the emperor. Having been reborn, Feng Yingshuang had long understood a truth. No one cares whether you live or die. Even if she told the emperor that Nan Yutian had drugged her with a lotus parasol, the emperor would first consider his own son, not side with an outsider like her. To take something, one must first give. She wanted to make Nan Yutian lose his emperor father's trust and make the emperor wary of him. When Grand Preceptor Feng rushed into the palace to visit the third prince, the emperor happened to be there as well. Nan Yutian was lying sprawled on the bed. That's right, no doubt about it. He had been beaten unconscious by Zhu Machin and wouldn't be able to get out of bed for half a month. Grand Preceptor Feng, with tears in his eyes, tearfully expressed his gratitude and grievances to the emperor. Yesterday, Shuang and the third prince were in the peach blossom forest. Thanks to the third prince's righteous and selfless rescue, Shuang was able to escape the assassin's pursuit. The poor third prince was severely injured to save Shuang. This old subject is truly ashamed. From now on, the third prince is the benefactor of our Feng family. Hearing this, the emperor thought it was only natural for the third prince to save Feng Yingshuang, as they were a couple. But the next words stunned the emperor. Grand Preceptor Feng continued, "Actually, this matter is also Shuang's fault for being insensible. Previously, Shuang had some unpleasantness with the young lady of Duke Chen's family. Thanks to the third prince's mediation and repeated persuasion, Duke Chen was able to resolve the matter, turning a big issue into a small one. Duke Chen also has high praise for the third prince. After yesterday's perilous experience, this old subject is even more endlessly grateful to the third prince." Upon hearing this, His Majesty the Emperor's face instantly turned cold. "This son of mine is truly like a fish in water when it comes to handling relationships with court officials. To be favored by both Duke Chun and Grand Preceptor Feng is truly a rare feat at the side." Nan Yutian's mother, concubinely, felt her head buzzing. Why is this old fool talking so much? The emperor detests it most when princes do not know their place and become too close with court ministers. Concubine Li quickly tried to smooth things over. Yutian has always been filial. He only wants to share your majesty's burdens and doesn't have time to consider other things. Grand Preceptor Feng continued to weep. Yes, the third prince is capable of holding his own. He can be considerate of the emperor above and pacify the ministers below. For the emperor to have such a son, this old subject can die with no regrets. This sentence made Concubine Li break out in a cold sweat. The emperor's face fell. Grand Preceptor, you exaggerate. I will naturally reward Yutian handsomely. Then he lifted his chin. Since Shuang has already married the king of Qingping, it is not proper for her to continue living with her maiden family. The marriage is decreed. Move to the Prince Qingping Manor on an auspicious day. A long silence filled the air. Consort Li stretched out her hand and called out, "Your Majesty," several times, only to be met with his cold, retreating back. Deep joy emanated from the depths of the Grand Tutor's eyes. It seems his granddaughter has grown up, increasingly understanding the art of influencing people's hearts. Parents who love their children must plan far ahead for them. In the current emperor's heart, no son can compare to his precious crown prince. Any act of winning over court officials or coveting the crown prince's position must be severely suppressed. Nan Yutian wanted to marry Feng Yingshuang and also win over the Duke of Chun. The emperor would certainly not let him have his way. Calling off this marriage was a simple matter of a word from the emperor. With Nan Yutian still unconscious, Consort Li couldn't think of any way to stop it. Once Shuang and Prince Qingping have consummated their relationship, she can truly be rid of that scumbag. The die is finally about to be cast. Today was the auspicious day for Feng Yingshuang to move into the Prince Qingping Manor. She packed her clothes and belongings and arrived at the manor's main gate with her personal maid. A powerful clatter of hooves echoed as a troop of armored cavalry appeared on the street. A horse stopped on command. Jun Machin, in high spirits, arrived as if riding the wind. He rushed forward in a single bound and took Feng Yingshuang's hand. Thankfully, I made it back in time for my beloved consort's official arrival. My nonstop journey was not in vain. Seeing the person he had longed for appear before his eyes, Feng Yingshuang was at a loss for words. The longing of countless days and nights had become a dream come true. Yet at this moment, she couldn't utter a single word. Jun Machin needed no words. He quickly stepped forward in front of everyone and pulled the girl he loved into a tight embrace. Schwanger, I've missed you so much. Feng Yingshuang's heart trembled. She didn't even have a chance to struggle or resist before being enveloped by his powerful presence. She felt the abundant love in Jun Machin's embrace. No longer caring about anything else, she tightly gripped the corner of his robe. Actually, I've missed you too. But thinking of that night after the peach blossom forest, Feng Yingshuang's heart was filled with mixed emotions. She pushed Jun Machin away. It was a long journey. Your Highness should get some rest. But Jun Machin grabbed Feng Yingshuang's hand. No rush. I have some good news to share with my beloved consort. Let's talk inside. Nearby, Ruoshui puffed her cheeks, cheering on her two masters. His Highness and the young miss are such a perfect match. After entering the room, Jun Machin smoothly took out an envelope. My beloved consort, the matter you asked me to investigate has yielded results. Nan Yutian's hidden military encampment has been located. Feng Yingshuang's eyes lit up and she stepped forward to take it. But Jun Machin playfully snatched it back, holding the envelope high up. I traveled day and night to bring back such important information for my beloved consort. Shouldn't I get a little reward? Feng Yingshuang was taken aback. What kind of reward do you want? Jun Machin lightly pointed to his own cheek. Why beloved consort, you know what I mean. Feng Yingshuang's expression soured. This guy is so shameless. Seeing his beloved consort remain motionless, Jun Machin waved his hand. Looking aggrieved, my beloved consort unwilling to grant even this small favor. But in the next second, Feng Yingshuang swiftly removed her outer robe. She extended her arm, pointing to her shoulder. There used to be a vermilion mark here. That time in the peach blossom forest with the jade seal, I was drugged by Nan Yuqian with an aphrodisiac. Now, the vermilion mark is gone. Do you know what that means? I'm giving you a chance to back out now. If you're not willing, I will leave immediately. Jun Machin was silent for a second, then a faint smile appeared on his lips. He pulled Feng Yingshuang closer. Back out of what? This isn't my beloved consort's fault. Then he gently picked up the robe Feng Yingshuang had cast aside and draped it over her shoulders. Why beloved consort, please rest assured. I love you of now. The past is in the past. There's no need to mention it again. Blushing, Feng Yingshuang pushed him away and snatched the envelope. With a tone of relief, she said, "Thank you," and began to study its contents intently. Watching the girl he loved no longer brooding over what she had lost, a hint of tenderness appeared in Jun Machin's eyes. On a silent night, with the sound of flowing water, Jun Machin was in his study, reading a book, but he couldn't calm his restless heart. Feng Yingshuang was bathing. The fragrance of rose petals filled the entire room. For a martial artist, the sense of hearing is much more sensitive than that of an ordinary person. Thus, every move of everyone in the room was seared into his mind. Finally, he could no longer force himself and put down the book in his hands. He got up and walked in. His beloved consort was to fulfill her wifely duties tonight. After today, they would be a true husband and wife. For a woman in ancient times to live well, two things were indispensable: the power of her maternal family and the favor of her husband. Chun Shuxian was the eldest daughter of the Duke's manor, showered with immense affection. Not only was she the crown princess personally appointed by His Majesty the Emperor, but also the future empress of the Southern Chu dynasty. She originally held a winning hand in life. However, Today, she was intent on pushing another woman into the crown prince's bed. One day, Chen Shuxian, the daughter of the Duke of Chun, entered the palace to pay her respects and overheard the palace maids praising Shuning. Consort Shu, the second prince's birth mother, has summoned Miss Shun to the palace again, and she gave her so many gifts. It seems Consort Shu is very fond of her future daughter-in-law. These words made Chen Shuxian grind her teeth. Shuning, that bitch. She stole the man I love and is still so arrogant. Just you watch how I'll deal with you. She immediately ordered her maid to fetch the crown prince. Just say that I overheard the maids gossiping and am secretly crying in the imperial garden. Sure enough, it wasn't long before the crown prince came rushing over to Siener. Siener. Chen Shuxian nodded coyly. Your Highness, what brings you here? Seeing his fiancée's tear-streaked face, the crown prince's heart ached for her. If I hadn't come, how bullied would you have been? Who is this audacious person that dares to anger our future empress to this state? Chen Shuxian turned around coquettishly, her delicate shoulders rubbing against the crown prince's chest. Siener is without talent or virtue. How could I be worthy of being the empress? But the crown prince, Nan Yuqing, grabbed the beauty's shoulders. You are the crown princess. In the future, you will naturally be the rightful empress. Does anyone dare to object? In fact, the last time Chen Shuxian danced gracefully at the palace banquet, her performance captured every man's eye. Of course, she also successfully conquered the young and inexperienced crown prince. In the 10 days that followed, in order to win over the crown prince, she danced many times in the imperial garden, each time with new variations, full of charm and allure. She had long ago bewitched the crown prince, turning his world upside down. Every time she finished dancing, she would shower the crown prince with extravagant praise. Her skill and flattery gave the crown prince immense inner satisfaction. In addition, the emperor had also advised the crown prince, saying that Chen Shuxian and the Duke of Qin's manor behind her were crucial for maintaining his position, and that he must treat her well. Therefore, the more the crown prince looked at Chen Shuxian now, the more he liked her. He couldn't wait to have the grand wedding as soon as possible to share tender moments with her. At this moment, a wronged, tearful look appeared on Chen Shuxian's pretty face. She buried her delicate, seemingly boneless body into the crown prince's embrace, touching his chest with teary eyes. It's nothing for Siener to suffer a little. But they really shouldn't have, spread rumors everywhere just to highlight Shen Ying's nobility, saying that I'm only marrying you because I failed to get the second prince. You are the dignified crown prince. Isn't this a slap in your face, saying you are inferior to the second prince? Nan Yuqing's expression darkened. Guards, take all the maids who were gossiping in the imperial garden today and have them beaten to death. Then he looked down and held the gentle, water-like woman in his arms. That's Siener. Rest assured, I guarantee I will back you up and vent your anger for you. No one will dare to offend you. The crown prince was right. In this vast harem, everyone had to be cautious, fearing they might bring disaster upon themselves. But he, the crown prince, was an exception. The emperor had given him boundless indulgence. Whatever he did was taken for granted, and no one dared to say a word against it. Chen Shuxian wiped her tears. Didn't Consort Shu summon Shuning to the palace today? It's getting late. She should be coming out by now. A moment later, Shuning, who was passing through the imperial garden, heard a sharp rebuke. How dare you, girl? You see His Highness the Crown Prince, and do not bow. Shuning looked up. She saw the Crown Prince's grand procession approaching, a spectacle comparable to the Emperor's. Shuning quickly knelt. Your Highness the Crown Prince. Greetings. The Crown Prince, seeing the beauty before him, had his eyes light up. But to appease the beauty in his arms, he still reprimanded her sternly. Why do you only greet me and not the future Crown Princess? This is disrespectful to me. Chen Shuxian added fuel to the fire. You think that just because you are betrothed to the second prince, you can disregard the crown prince? Shuning quickly bowed and admitted her fault. I was in a hurry as the palace gates are about to close, and I had no intention of offending your highness. I beg for your forgiveness, your highness. Seeing Shuning admit her mistake, the scheming Chen Shuxian quickly changed her tune. Shuning has the second prince to back her up. Let's not argue with her, lest the second prince misunderstands and thinks we are bullying her, affecting the relationship between you brothers. This sentence sent a cold sweat down Shen Ying's spine. The The second prince. I'm afraid the person His Highness the Crown Prince detests the most is you, the second prince, in both talent and appearance. Your excellence only serves to highlight how utterly mediocre he is. As expected, the Crown Prince's expression instantly darkened. Even as the second prince's consort, you have no right to be impudent with me. Guards, take this wench to the Eastern Palace. I shall teach her a proper lesson. Shening has been taken to the Eastern Palace by the Crown Prince, who intends to ruin her. Miss Shun's handmaiden rushed to Bixia Palace to report to the second prince and Her Highness, Consort Shu. Hearing that the woman he loved was in danger, the second prince, Nan Yu-chen, was frantic with worried they've gone too far. I'll storm the Eastern Palace right now and get Inger back. Mother Consort, please go to Father Emperor and ask him to seek justice for us. Just as Nan Yu-chen and Consort Shu were about to act, a commanding voice stopped them sternly. If you don't want to be the death of Shening, you'd best not do that. Feng Shuang, who had just arrived, gave a quick bow to Consort Shu. The matter is urgent. Please forgive my intrusion, Your Highness. The Crown Prince may be mediocre, but he has never been this audacious. Chen Shuxian must have instigated this. Having spent many years in the imperial harem, Consort Shu understood immediately. Thank you for the reminder, Shuang. We cannot act rashly, or we'll fall right into their trap. The Emperor favors the Crown Prince. No matter what he does, His Majesty will turn a blind eye, minimizing any major issue. Besides, no matter what wrongs the Crown Prince commits, he is the legitimate heir. Shinner, you must not disrespect him. Feng Shuang added, indeed, this is a no-win situation. If a conflict between the royal brothers is caused today because of Sister Shun, she will undoubtedly be sentenced to death. Those words pierced Nan Yu-chen's heart like a needle. Chen Shuxian is so malicious. She will never let Inger go. It's all my fault. I should have rejected her long ago. Now an innocent Inger is suffering because of me. Feng Shuang patted Nan Yu-chen's shoulder. Your Highness, you are the only one who can save Sister Shin now. You must immediately seek an audience with the Emperor. Report that you suspect an assassin has infiltrated the palace and abducted Sister Shin. Then, request that Prince Qingting lead the Imperial Guard to conduct a search. That way, we'll have a legitimate reason to enter the Eastern Palace and rescue Sister Shun. You must never cross a woman like Chen Shuxian. She is capable of anything. Meanwhile, in a side hall of the Eastern Palace, Shuning was bound tightly to a pillar. Her expression was sorrowful, her once beautiful face now bruised from being struck. Chen Shuxian stood before her, a triumphant smile plastered on her face. Let me tell you the truth. I intentionally let your handmaiden escape and arrange for someone to tip off the second prince. No matter how they try to save you, they won't escape the charge of offending the Crown Prince. And do you really think the Emperor will spare a woman who has caused a rift between brothers? Shining was aghast. How can you be so cruel? Chen Shuxian sneered with contempt. Cruel? Do you have any idea what it's like to love someone you can't have? Do you know how it feels to be cast aside? You effortlessly stole the man I love. What right do you have to stand there and feign innocence? You, Shening, you stole my happiness. I won't just watch you live a good life. If I can ruin your body, then the second prince will surely despise you too, won't he? After all, what man can tolerate his wife being defiled by another? What? Shining stared at her in disbelief. She actually intended to destroy her virtue. No, you can't do this. I am the second prince's betrothed by imperial decree. Aren't you afraid the emperor will find out and punish you? That depends entirely on who does the deed. With that, Chen Shuxian turned and brought someone in. It was none other than His Highness, the Crown Prince. Chen Shuxian, who had been so ferocious moments before, was now meek and gentle beside Nan Yuqing, clinging to his arm like a delicate bird, her expression sweet and alluring. Shening, don't be afraid. This is the finest wine. It's guaranteed to bring you pleasure. Shening was horrified, but the Crown Prince had already stepped forward with a wine jug to force it on her. Come now, little beauty. Be a good girl and drink this for me. Standing aside, Chen Shuxian watched the Crown Prince's lecherous, drooling expression. This idiotic, lecherous fool, she thought, if not for his power, I'd feel sick spending even one more second in his presence. Yet, she still stepped forward, gently stroking the Crown Prince's back. Your Highness, Miss Shun is so unruly. As the second prince's elder brother, You can't possibly let him marry such a woman. Perhaps you should discipline her personally and take her into your own palace. Nan Yuqing was both tempted and hesitant. That doesn't seem right. She is, after all, the woman my second brother cherishes. This could damage our brotherly bond. Your Highness, you misunderstand. You would be doing this for his own good, removing a scourge from his life. If such a disrespectful woman were to marry the second prince, wouldn't that be his ruin? A man as clever as the second prince will surely understand your good intentions. You do have a point there. Recalling Shun Ying's captivating dance at the palace banquet, the crown prince was still consumed by desire. Why couldn't such a beauty be his? Since the crown princess was so generous as to push Shun Ying into his arms, why should he refuse? Besides, he had already thought of an excuse. Nan Yuqing's courage began to grow. My dear consort is right. Once Shun Ying became his woman, could the second prince possibly snatch her back from him? With his status as the crown prince, the second prince wouldn't dare to say much. Coveting beauty is a sin. The crown prince, lusting after Shun Ying's beauty, had her abducted. Just as her life hung by a thread, the male lead, Jun Machin, made a dramatic entrance. A maid from the Eastern Palace rushed to report, "Your Highness, the crown princess. The Prince of Qingping has forced his way in. He claims he has the emperor's order to search all palaces for an assassin." Chen Shuxian, who was drinking tea, froze. An assassin? She never thought they would use such a reason to barge in. Let's go and see. Soon, the Eastern Palace guards and Jun Machin's soldiers were in a standoff. Chen Shuxian stood before them and yelled at the Prince of Qingping. "How dare you to trespass in the Eastern Palace?" But Jun Machin, with a swift motion, drew his longsword. This prince is acting on His Majesty's orders to capture an assassin. The Eastern Palace guards will cooperate. Men, conduct a full search. Do not miss a single corner. The cold glint of the blade reflected on Chen Shuxian's face, frightening her into taking several steps back. She thought that given the crown prince's speed, the deed would soon be done. At worst, she could let them in afterward to see Shun Ying in a state of dishevelment. So, she continued to find ways to delay. Of course, we will cooperate. It's just that the Eastern Palace has always been heavily guarded. Not even an ant could get in. I wonder, what does this assassin look like? How many are there? Just then, a tragic scream came from side hall. Feng Lingshuang recognized Shun Ying's voice and immediately ran to find her, but was blocked by Chen Shuxian with a sword. "Prince of Qingping, if you back down now, the crown prince will let this matter go. But if you take one more step, His Majesty will learn that the Prince of Qingping colluded with the Feng family to threaten the crown prince." Before she could finish, the weapon in her hand was kicked away. Jun Machin's longsword was already at her throat. "Let's see if you have what it takes to save your own life." Chen Shuxian trembled in fear. "I am the crown princess. How dare you touch me?" Jun Machin let out a cold laugh. "That I wouldn't stoop to killing a woman like you." He then walked straight towards the side hall with Feng Lingshuang. When Jun Machin kicked open the doors to the side hall, Shun Ying was lying on the floor with her clothes in disarray, a large patch of blood on her forehead. The crown prince, meanwhile, sat to the side, completely at a loss. Feng Lingshuang let out a heart-wrenching scream, then rushed over to hold her body. By the time the others arrived, seeing the torn pieces of clothing scattered on the floor, they could roughly imagine what had just happened here. Chen Shuxian couldn't help but bite her lip in resentment. The crown prince was truly useless. All that time, and he couldn't even handle one woman. Utterly incompetent. As Shun Ying was taken to Consort Shu's Bishao Palace for treatment, the second prince, Nan Yuqing, could no longer contain his grief. "I'm begging you, please hold on. Don't leave me." Feng Lingshuang was deeply worried for Shun Ying, but she also had to consider the current situation. "Brother Yuqing, things have come to this. We need to think about our next move." The second prince, Nan Yuqing, was distraught. "Since childhood, I have abided by loyalty and filial piety. I have never been disrespectful to the crown prince. But he knew perfectly well that Ying is my betrothed. Yet he humiliated her like this." Feng Lingshuang quickly interjected with a sharp reminder. "Her ladyship, Consort Shu, comes from a prestigious and noble family. Her maternal clan's power is preeminent among all the imperial consorts. On top of that, Brother Yuqing, you're the most talented of all the princes. These 2 points alone are enough to make the crown prince want to eliminate you completely. Today's humiliation of Sister Shun is merely a glimpse into the darkness of the crown prince's heart. If he successfully ascends the throne one day, your entire princely estate will be lambs to his slaughter. Brother Yuchen, you must see this clearly. In this man-eating imperial palace, only by taking the initiative to grasp power can you hope to survive. The emperor must be on his way. Today, Sister Shun defended her honor with her life. You must not let her sacrifice be in vain. That's right, Feng Yingshuang was deliberately inciting the second prince, Nan Yuchen, to join the fight for the throne. Power is like a blade that can turn on you at any moment. Only by keeping it firmly within one's own camp can one be truly safe. This crown prince used his position to bully others, daring to forcibly take his own brother's fiancée. But Miss Shun defended her honor to the death, smashing her head against a pillar. Now that the situation has escalated to such a bloody state, how will the emperor choose to act? Inside the main hall of Qianxing Palace, Emperor Nan sat majestically. Below, Consort Shu, the crown prince, the second prince, and others stood in a row. Nan Yuchen arrived, his heart filled with grief. He wanted to seek justice for the woman he loves. But before he could speak, the Southern Emperor looked at Feng Yingshuang beside him. Feng, my girl, how is it that you're involved in every little disturbance in this palace? Feng Yingshuang was taken aback. The emperor is indeed deflecting, targeting me first. It seems he's determined to protect the crown prince today. Fine. Only then will the second prince not be swayed by so-called kinship in the future. Just as Feng Yingshuang hesitated, wondering how to reply to the Southern Emperor, Jun Machen draped a large coat over her shoulders. Your Majesty, forgive me. My wife is expected to be with child. The first 3 months are the most critical, so I'm being extra cautious and have brought her with me to look after her. Feng Yingshuang was rendered speechless by his words. What an excuse. How did you even come up with that? If I really were pregnant, it wouldn't be your child. How would you react then? Realizing her train of thought was going astray, Feng Yingshuang quickly snapped out of it. What am I thinking? I need to focus on the matter at hand. Seeing the second prince still kneeling motionless on the ground, the emperor finally stepped in to handle it. Miss Shun was injured today as a guest in the Eastern Palace. It was the Eastern Palace's failure in hospitality. I, your imperial father, apologize to you on the crown prince's behalf. The second prince's mother, Consort Shu, looked at her man in disbelief, letting out a shocked gasp. Your Majesty. She dared not say the next sentence. The crown prince committed such a treasonous act, forcibly taking his younger brother's fiancée. The emperor is actually apologizing for him. Does this mean a simple apology is enough to let this matter go? Below, Chen Shuxian was immensely pleased. The emperor's favoritism for the crown prince truly knows no bounds. And that useless crown prince is merely a sharp blade in my hand. Once I give birth to a son, the entire southern Shu court will belong to my Qin family. So, she cheerfully held up her fingers in a delicate pose. Yes, second prince. His Highness the Crown Prince instructed me to prepare many precious restorative gifts to express his sympathy. Please, you must accept them. But Nan Yuchen suddenly stood up. It is widely rumored in the palace that the crown princess made things difficult for Shun Yin in the imperial garden, claimed she was disrespectful to the crown prince, and forcibly took her back to the eastern palace to torture her. I implore Imperial Father to investigate thoroughly. The Southern Emperor slammed the table in anger, glaring fiercely at Nan Yuchen. How can rumors be taken as truth? Instead, it is you who, for a woman, did not hesitate to deceive the sovereign, falsely claiming an assassin attack and causing chaos in the palace. What crime should you be charged with? A deathly silence filled the air, pierced by the Southern Emperor's cold, harsh voice. Nan Yuchen felt as if his chest was blocked with stagnant blood. An endless disappointment and grief overwhelmed him. He once naively believed that the man sitting opposite him was not just the emperor, but also his father. But today he discovered that in his imperial father's heart, he was worthless. He could vent his emotions on him at will and casually throw him into a vortex of lies. No matter how he pleaded and struggled, the other man didn't even deign to look at him. The crown prince, however, stepped forward feigning sincerity that's right. Don't you trust your elder brother? I was about to send Shining out when Feng Yingshuang showed up and caused a scene, which is how she was accidentally injured. Beside them, Feng Yingshuang glared at him sideways. What a move, diverting the disaster eastward. Truly shameless to the extreme. Jun Machen quickly placed a hand on Feng Yingshuang's shoulder, signaling her to say no more. Filled with grief and indignation. Nan Yuchen could only accept reality. Your son has always respected my imperial brother and believed in the crown prince's authority. But your son does not believe Chen Shuxian. I personally witnessed Chen Shuxian maliciously vandalizing a restaurant and beating a merchant. Moreover, she has pestered your son on many occasions before. Such a malicious and fickle woman is brazenly allowed to stay by my imperial brother's side. It is truly worrying. After saying this, Nan Yuchen knelt and kowtowed deeply again. Imperial brother was originally upright and honorable, praised throughout the nation. It has only been a few days, and because of this woman, he is now rumored to be tormenting his brother's fiancée and carrying out torture. How can such a vile person be allowed to accompany my imperial brother? I implore your majesty to reconsider. These words were like a sharp blow that woke up the crown prince. The emperor also couldn't help but fall in a deep thought. This woman, Chen Shuxian, cannot be kept. After the wedding, let her give birth to an heir, then I must find a chance to get rid of her. Below, Nan Yuchen remained kneeling, his head bowed to the floor. He had only one thought in his mind. Nan Yuchen, the fight for the throne officially begins today. This emperor had originally thought that by finding a powerful and influential young lady for the crown prince, he could make Duke Chen of Gua a vassal to the crown prince. He never expected her to cause so much trouble. Chen Shuxian quickly knelt. Your Majesty, please see the truth. Your subject is absolutely not the kind of person the second prince described. Who would have thought the foolish crown prince would embrace Chen Shuxian? Patting her back comfortingly, Siener, don't cry. I believe you. I will not tolerate such baseless provocations. The second prince, Nan Yuchen, wanted to step forward and argue further, but was interrupted by Jun Machen. Ying Shuang is unwell. Your humble servant will take his leave now. But the emperor, right in front of Prince Qingting, made a swift decision. Chen Shuxian's conduct is flawed. She is hereby ordered to be confined to the Duke of Gua's residence and is forbidden from entering the palace before the grand wedding. The foolish crown prince hurried forward to hug and comfort Chen Shuxian. Siener, don't be afraid. It's all right now. The emperor then announced that while the crown prince had no intention of causing harm, he was still responsible for the second imperial concubine's injury in the Eastern Palace. As punishment, the crown prince was to kneel in the ancestral temple for 3 days. The second prince falsely reported an assassin, which is an act of deceiving the monarch. However, considering the circumstances, you are punished with house arrest to reflect. You are not to enter the palace without my decree. Upon this judgment, the second imperial prince, Nan Yuchen's face darkened. He returned to his mansion, trembling and disheartened, stroking his forehead. I knew father has always been biased, but I never expected it to be to this extent. Shen Ying's life hangs by a thread, yet the crown prince is completely unharmed. Punishing the crown prince by making him kneel, what a punishment that is. What is this supposed to be? A begrudgingly offered explanation for me. Beside him, Feng Shuang was not surprised. How could a minor skirmish like that possibly deal a heavy blow to the crown prince and Chen Shuxian? A serious illness requires strong medicine. Desperate times call for desperate measures. But Jun Machen slowly offered her a piece of pastry. My dear consort, don't be angry. Have something to eat first. Feng Shuang waved her little hand. I'm not eating. But the next second, the pastry was steadily placed in a Feng Shuang's mouth. Eat up. Even if you're not hungry, our child is. Feng Shuang glared at him, embarrassed and angry. This lecher is getting addicted to acting. But Jun Machen stared intently at Feng Shuang, thinking, although my dear consort says no every day, she actually enjoys it very much. Seeing how hard my dear consort works, of course I can't let you go hungry. Then he cleared his throat and analyzed the situation for the second prince. What the emperor values is the power of the Duke of Chen's family. In other words, as long as the Chen family is around, we can't touch Chen Shuxian for now. The second prince was taken aback, not expecting Jun Machen to be so blunt. Then, Jun Machen spoke even more unabashedly. I am only loyal to the sovereign. As for who the sovereign is, I don't care. Then he grabbed Feng Shuang's little hand. Besides, my dear consort has already chosen a side. Naturally, I will stand with her. Since ancient times, the reward for backing a future emperor is a matter of life or death. For the Prince of Qingping, who held the military power of southern Chu, to so frankly reveal his intention of support. Deeply moved, Nan Yuchen, the heir takedown squad, was officially formed today. Feng Yingshuang's trio was determined to win the struggle for the throne of Chu. The first ones they needed to eliminate were undoubtedly Qin Shuxian and the Duke of Qin's family. But given the emperor's favoritism towards the crown prince's supporters, it would be difficult to shake the power of the Duke of Qin's family in a short time. A clever hunter should understand the principle of when the snipe and the clam grapple, the fisherman profits. Some time ago, the third prince, Nan Yutian, spared no effort to win over the Duke of Qin. But the Qin family turned to support the crown prince, becoming his in-laws. With Nan Yutian's sinister and vicious personality, he probably already hates the crown prince and the Duke of Qin to the core. Therefore, we might as well add fuel to the fire and let that mad dog, Nan Yuqian, bite the crown prince. A clever hunter should understand the principle of when the snipe and the clam grapple, the fisherman profits. Right now, the crown prince is favored and Qin Shuxian is in power. With Nan Yutian's sinister and vicious personality, he probably already despises the crown prince and the Qin family. Therefore, Feng Yingshuang planned to add fuel to the fire and let that mad dog Nan Yuqian bite the crown prince. In the dead of night, a carriage rumbled along. Jun Machin smoothly moved closer to his dear consort. He whispered near her ear, "My dear consort, are you hiding some idea from your husband?" Feng Yingshuang smiled faintly, thinking, this guy is sharper than a monkey. Jun Machin raised an eyebrow slightly. Shouldn't my dear consort be honest with her husband? Lately, he had grown fond of speaking to Feng Yingshuang in this subtle tone. Calling her my consort made his own heart tingle. Feng Yingshuang didn't answer him directly. "Your Highness is so clever. Why don't you try and guess?" Jun Machin leaned in closer. Miss Shun was humiliated for no reason. "My dear consort must be furious. Right now, are you regretting saving the crown prince at the palace banquet?" Then he pressed gently against Feng Yingshuang's I guess. Before he could finish his next words, Feng Yingshuang made a mysterious gesture to "let's wait and see." The next day, Feng Yingshuang did something rare and invited her green tea bestie, Sue Manru, over. "Little sister, you've finally come to chat. I've missed you so much." Across from her, Sue Manru's eyes were filled with tears. After the incident in the peach blossom forest, the third prince, Nan Yuqian, was beaten so badly he still couldn't get out of bed. Feng Yingshuang glanced sideways at Sue Manru. When Nan Yuqian recovered, he would surely vent all his anger on Sue Manru. Her life would surely be difficult then. So, she decided to add some more drama. The emperor is solely focused on ensuring the crown prince's smooth succession to the throne. I'm afraid the third prince's infatuation has long since soured in his majesty's eyes. That's why he hastily had me move into the king of Qingping's manor. Sister, I had no choice. This statement hit Sue Manru like a bombshell. Could it be that the emperor suspects the third prince has developed ambitions for the throne, and that's why he deliberately had you marry the king of Qingping? But Feng Yingshuang quickly covered her mouth. Shoo, shoo. Be careful, walls have ears. Sister, why don't you understand yet? Everything the emperor does is to solidify the crown prince's position. Otherwise, I would have married the third prince long ago. Sue Manru had a sudden realization. So that's how it is. Breaking up the marriage alliance between the third prince and the Feng family, and arranging the marriage between the crown prince and Qin Shuxian. It turns out the emperor had this planned all along. When the third prince wakes up, I must report this to him as soon as possible. Feng Yingshuang continued her pretense. The third prince and I are fated to have a connection in this life, but not to be together. As a woman, what choice do I have? Dear sister, from now on, I'll have to trouble you to take care of the third prince. Sue Manru quickly agreed. Don't worry, sister. I will definitely serve the third prince well on your behalf. Then, after some small talk, she scurried back to pass on the information. After Sue Manru left, Ruo Shui still looked puzzled. My lady, why do you still associate with that wicked woman? You must cut ties with her immediately. But Feng Yingshuang leisurely stroked her teacup. Don't be anxious. Take it slow. Whether the grand drama in the palace can continue all depends on this pawn and how she relays the message. Finally, after a few more days, Nan Yutian, who had been beaten black and blue, awoke from his injuries. The moment he saw Sue Manru, he was filled with rage. It's all because of the terrible idea from a good-for-nothing like you. Get out of my sight. Sue Manru quickly knelt to admit her mistake. I am at your highness's mercy, but I had to come today to tell your highness an important piece of news. The reason Feng Yingshuang couldn't marry you was under the emperor's instruction. His Majesty was never willing to let you form a marriage alliance with the Feng family because he is solely focused on paving the way for the crown prince. Upon hearing this, Nan Yutian was deeply shocked. To emphasize her own importance, Sue Manru continued to add fuel to the fire. Your Highness, there's something you don't know. A few days ago, the crown prince openly abducted Shening, intending to force himself upon her. As a result, he drove Shening to kill herself by running into a wall. Not only did the emperor not punish the crown prince, but he instead ordered the second prince to reflect on his actions in confinement. From this, it's clear that the emperor's favoritism for the crown prince knows no bounds. He is single-mindedly focused on clearing all obstacles for the crown prince's ascension. Consort Li also nodded in agreement. That's right. The emperor personally chose Chen Shuxian to be the crown princess, clearly intending for Duke Chen to support the crown prince. Covered in wounds, Nan Yuqian was seething with anger. What fine Duke Chen! He previously approached me with gifts to show his goodwill, and now he has switched his allegiance to the crown prince. He's truly a weed that sways with the wind. Consort Li couldn't help but realize. We could never find the real culprit who harmed Yutian. Could have been the emperor? Yutian is his son too. How could he be so cruel? Nan Yutian looked up at the sky. We are all his biological sons. Between Nan Yuchuan and myself, which of us isn't better than that useless crown prince? And yet, has his gaze ever once rested on me? Such favoritism, it's just too much. Since it has come to this, don't blame me for making a move. Today is a day of universal celebration for the Southern Chu dynasty. The crown prince, Nan Yuqing, is marrying the daughter of Duke Chen Shuxian. A 10-mile-long dowry procession, a phoenix coronet and embroidered robes, the deafening sound of gongs and drums fills the air. This was undoubtedly the most glorious moment of Chen Shuxian's life. She was about to become the most honored person in the world, firmly trampling Feng Yingshuang and all the other girls who had ever looked down on her under her feet. As the wedding ceremony was about to begin, everyone knelt in unison, shouting, "Long live the emperor! Long live the emperor!" From a bright yellow imperial palanquin, the current supreme ruler of southern Chu, Nan Huan, slowly descended. He was not alone, for in his hands, he held a memorial tablet. The owner of the memorial tablet was none other than the crown prince's birth mother, the late Empress Chu. The fact that her memorial tablet was being personally carried by the emperor, who then respectfully placed it on the altar in front, was astonishing. This meticulous gesture showed just how much the emperor valued the late empress. Even though many years had passed, his deep affection remained. At the same time, the current emperor's support for the crown prince's ascension knew no bounds. He loved him to the very core. Chen Shuxian had also firmly captured the crown prince's heart, making that man cherish and obey her every whim. But what goes around comes around. The gears of fate were quietly turning. Jun Machin playfully leaned close to his wife. My dear consort, don't just focus on drinking. If you get drunk, how will you watch the show? Feng Yingshuang was amused by him. Your Highness, how can you be so sure there will be a good show to watch? Jun Machin raised an eyebrow slightly. The crown prince's wedding is crowded and chaotic. Isn't this the perfect opportunity to frame someone and kill two birds with one stone? As expected, before he could finish speaking, a flurry of panicked footsteps was heard. A palace maid came running as if the sky were falling. This is terrible, terrible. The maid knelt. Your Majesty, the Crown Prince. His Highness the Crown Prince. The moment he heard the words Crown Prince, the Southern Emperor's face fell. Chinger, what's wrong with him? His Highness the Crown Prince has died suddenly. The Emperor slammed the table. He stood up frantically, wanting to see the Crown Prince. Everyone knew the Crown Prince was the late Empress's cherished son. The Emperor loved the Crown Prince more than his own life. Soon, a group of them rushed into the Eastern Palace. The bridal chamber, once so festive, was brightly lit. Yet, from within came sounds of weeping a stark contrast to the atmosphere. When they entered, Chun Shuxian was curled up in a corner, trembling. She was still wearing her bright red wedding dress, her hair disheveled and her clothes in disarray. The front of her gown had been torn. When the emperor saw the crown prince, dead with a blue face and bleeding from his eyes, ears, nose, and mouth, he felt as if he'd been struck by lightning. He began to tremble uncontrollably. He staggered and almost fell. Nan Yutian rushed forward to support the emperor, but was thrown aside. Who was it? Who harmed my Qing? Tell me the real culprit, or we will have all 9 generations of your clans executed. All at once, the servants of the Eastern Palace fell to their knees. Some trembled, some begged for mercy, some babbled incoherently. But from their words, a complete picture could be pieced together. His Highness the Crown Prince was fine when he entered the bridal chamber. When the incident occurred, only the Crown Princess was inside. Did this not imply that the Crown Prince had been murdered by the Crown Princess? Seeing the Emperor's murderous glare, Qin Shuxian forgot her trembling and immediately began to kowtow desperately. Your Majesty, please see the truth. The Crown Prince was my husband. A wife's duty is to her husband. How could I possibly murder my own husband on our wedding night? Chun Shuxian never would have imagined that one moment she would be gloating and the next she would taste the bitterness of falling from heaven into hell. Regardless of whether she did it or not, her life was ruined. Even if the emperor didn't execute her, she would be branded a jinx who brought death upon her husband on their wedding night. The emperor's face darkened as he stared daggers at her. Silence. You were the only one present when the crown prince met his end. If not you, then who could it be? The one you loved before was never the crown prince. Then, suddenly and inexplicably, you had your father enter the palace to request this marriage. Was this not a premeditated conspiracy? The noble crown prince, dead on his wedding night from poisoned nuptial wine, bleeding from every orifice. But why is the crown princess, who drank from the same pot of wine, completely unharmed? Could it be that the crown princess took an antidote beforehand? Feng Yingshuang calmly raised her doubts. Qin Shuxian, both shocked and terrified, couldn't stop herself from retorting. Feng Yingshuang, don't you dare make such baseless accusations. But now, the emperor was unwilling to overlook a single clue. He immediately ordered the coroner to examine the nuptial wine set, only to discover that the pot was a yin-yang vessel. This type of pot is divided into 2 compartments, one for fine wine and one for poison. And the crown prince had drunk from the poison compartment. Hearing this, the southern emperor was royally enraged. Seize this wretched woman of the Qin clan and throw her in the dungeons. Torture her. Interrogate everyone in the Eastern Palace under torture until a confession is beaten out of them. Chun Shuxian wailed from the floor, Your Majesty, your subject is innocent. It was Feng Yingshuang who sowed discord. Please believe your subject, Your Majesty. The Southern Emperor didn't want to hear any more. He waved his hand in sorrow. All of you leave. We wish to be alone with Qing. In the Southern Emperor's heart, Nan Yuqing was his true son, irreplaceable. With Nan Yuqing gone, his heart was broken. Late that night, as Feng Yingshuang sat in the Prince of Li's carriage, Zhu Machin asked Feng Yingshuang gently, You and I both know who the real murderer is. My dear consort, why did you direct suspicion onto Qin Shuxian? Feng Yingshuang raised her gaze slightly. The crown prince deserved to die, and Qin Shuxian is not entirely innocent. Xining was deeply humiliated by those 2. I must get justice for her. Jun Machin raised an eyebrow. For a friend, you let such a perfect opportunity slip by. Don't you find that a pity, my dear consort? Don't forget, we already have evidence of Nan Yutian secretly amassing troops. Combined with today's events, taking him down would have been effortless. Jun Machin had thought that the court of Southern Shu would lose 2 princes today. But Feng Yingshuang's expression grew serious. Xining is like a sister to me. I want her to see that those who humiliated her have paid the price. It also honors the bond we formed when our bridal sedans were switched. Besides, as a couple in name only, we shouldn't draw too much attention to ourselves. It's better to conserve our strength and watch as everyone turns on the Chun family now that they're vulnerable. As for Nan Yutian, Your Highness should just wait patiently. He can't hold it together. Sooner or later, he will reveal his sinister ambitions. Sure enough, On the other side, Nan Yutian was anxiously discussing countermeasures with Consort Li. They were afraid their spy in the Eastern Palace would be exposed, and the Southern Emperor would discover they had poisoned the Crown Prince. But Consort Li was full of confidence that, "Don't worry, my son. Since Chun Shuxian has already taken the fall for us, let's find a way to solidify her guilt." Several days passed. Ever since the incident, Duke Chun Bo hadn't slept well for days and nights. He was consumed with anxiety every single day. He felt like a grasshopper after the autumn wind, desolate and doomed. His daughter had caused the crown prince's death, offending the royal family, who would have the power to oppose the emperor. Now, the only one he could count on was the third prince. After all, they had a cooperation agreement before, so he sent lavish gifts to Nan Yutian. Isn't there a saying that money makes the world go round? Besides, the third prince had promised that if the Chun family gave him their full support, he would ensure their future glory. Now that the crown prince was dead, this was a huge advantage for the third prince. He must be pleased, right? So, Duke Chen had been constantly visiting the third prince's residence to seek an audience with Nan Yutian. But Nan Yutian kept making excuses to avoid him. Could it be because the Chun family was still in the hot seat and the third prince was afraid of getting into trouble, so he didn't want to help? But just then, a servant from the residence came to report that the third prince was inviting Duke Chen over for a discussion. Hearing this, Duke Chun was ecstatic and immediately prepared gifts to bring with him. Although he knew the third prince was unreliable, he could only place his only hope in him. Little did he know that this visit would be the end of Duke Chun. Feng Shuang, by using her manipulative bestie to pass information, induced Nan Yutian to act against the crown prince. It was truly a plan to kill 3 birds with 1 stone. It successfully eliminated the crown prince, while the second prince, Nan Yuchen, had yet to gain any ground. It also successfully brought down Chun Shuxian. And now, to completely frame Chun Shuxian, Nan Yutian has set a trap for Duke Chun. He invited Duke Chun to his residence for a meeting. As soon as Duke Chun saw him, he immediately knelt and begged, "Third prince, I beg you, please save my daughter. If you don't help me, our Chun family will be finished." Nan Yutian stood up, but did not help him up. "Duke Chun, the person your daughter is suspected of killing is the crown prince of Southern Shu, my imperial brother. This is an unforgivable crime. How do you expect me to help you?" Duke Chun heard this and thought something was wrong. Didn't Nan Yutian invite him over today because he had already figured out a way to help? Why would he say such a thing? But he still didn't dare to act rashly and continued to act subserviently. What's the use of explaining to him now that it wasn't Shu Xian who did it? Even if she wasn't the killer, she can't escape the blame for being a jinx to her husband. Could things get any worse than they are now? So he decided to go all in, believing that if he could convince the third prince of his unwavering loyalty, he would be willing to help. So Duke Chun crawled on his knees before him. "Third prince, everything our Chun family has done has been for you. The crown prince was mediocre and incompetent, yet he occupied the position of heir apparent for no reason. If he had ascended the throne, he would have achieved nothing. The entire Southern Shu dynasty might have been ruined in his hands. But you, third prince, are proficient in both literature and martial arts. In my opinion, you're the most suitable person to inherit the throne." Nan Yutian immediately feigned extreme anger. "What nonsense are you spouting? The crown prince was the legitimate son, destined by heaven to inherit the throne. I am just an idle prince. How could I harbor such thoughts? Even without the crown prince, the second prince's abilities are far superior to mine. Don't you dare try to implicate me in this injustice. The third prince, why was he acting so differently today?" Duke Chun thought this must be some kind of test for him, so he had no choice but to go along with him. If he could please him and make him satisfied, he would agree to help. How can the second prince compare to you? He only acts proud because his mother, Consort Shu, has a slightly higher birth. My daughter has been in love with him for so many years, yet he treated her with disdain. You're far more approachable, third prince. If you inherit the throne in the future, you will surely be a diligent and beloved emperor. Flattery will get you anywhere. Duke Chun was truly using every complimentary word he could think of. In the past, he had been dismissive of the third prince. Nan Yutian pretended to have a sudden realization, then angrily questioned Duke Chun. "How audacious you are. After all that, you dare to use me as a cover for your actions? It's obvious that you and your daughter failed to curry favor with my second imperial brother, so you try to curry favor with me instead. You bear a grudge against my second imperial brother, so you deliberately asked Father Emperor to issue a decree decree to marry your daughter to the crown prince. You used the crown prince's life to frame consort Shu and consort Xian, and then shift the blame onto my second imperial brother. That was your real goal, wasn't it? Hearing him state it so seriously, Duke Qin's heart pounded with fear. But at this point, he had to accept whatever the prince said. He had already jumped into the Yellow River and couldn't wash himself clean. Even so, shouldn't the third prince be even more grateful to my daughter and me? My daughter sacrificed herself for the greater good. If this plan had succeeded, the crown prince, the second prince, consort Xian, consort Shu, and all others involved would have been uprooted. All your obstacles would have been removed. Everything I, your subject, have done was for you, your highness. He was almost moved by his own words. He thought that now, the third prince would surely see his sincerity. After hearing the last sentence, a strange smile appeared on Nan Yutian's face. Duke Qin's elation didn't even last a few seconds. Suddenly, an extremely cold voice came from behind the screen. Audacious Duke Qin, how dare you murder the crown prince and disrupt the court? Your crime is unforgivable. The familiar voice stunned Duke Qin completely. He was so frightened he nearly lost his wits. He stared blankly as the figure in a bright yellow dragon robe walked out from behind the screen, his eyes filled with a look that could have cut him into 1,000 pieces. Nan Yutian immediately bowed and saluted. Father Emperor, your son has brought the murderer who poisoned my imperial brother to justice. Please see the truth, your majesty. Emperor Nan trembled with rage and kicked Duke Qin fiercely. You deserve to die. I trusted you so much that I allowed your daughter to marry my only heir. But you conspired with your daughter to poison the crown prince. I will exterminate your 9 generations and ensure you die without a burial place. He angrily ordered his men to drag Duke Qin away. He returned to the palace immediately and ordered a search for evidence of Duke Qin's corruption, bribery, and factionalism. How dare Duke Qin kill the emperor's most beloved son? He would make the Chun family be destroyed in the most tragic and humiliating way. The crown prince was dead. He died on his wedding day with Qin Shuxian. A yin-yang pot and Duke Qin's testimony convinced the emperor that Qin Shuxian was the one who poisoned the crown prince. He was also certain of their motive, because the second prince had fallen in love with Shuning, spurning Qin Shuxian's deep affection. This caused her love to turn to hate, leading her to poison the crown prince at all costs and frame the second prince to achieve her revenge. Nan Yutian's plan had worked perfectly. He thought that Qin Shuxian's motive would also cause the second prince to fall from grace. Soon, an imperial edict was issued, listing the crimes of Duke Qin and his daughter: poisoning the crown prince, corruption, bribery, forming factions, disrupting the nation, and so on. In 3 days, everyone in Duke Qin's residence would be executed. Shining came to visit Feng Yingshuang, her eyes completely red. She was filled with gratitude for Feng Yingshuang's help. If it weren't for you back then, I might have ended my own life with a white silk sash in that ruined temple on my wedding day. You saved me. Let me dance at the palace banquet and help me find my own happiness. When I was humiliated by the crown prince and Qin Shuxian, it was you again who avenged me. Yingshuang, you have been too good to me. Shining was overwhelmed with gratitude. In her heart, the humiliation from the crown prince and Qin Shuxian was an eternal wound. But Feng Yingshuang had effortlessly stirred up conflict among everyone and helped her get revenge. Feng Yingshuang gently comforted her. Sister Shun, we were married on the same day. I said then that we sisters were fated. Although I saved you, you also helped me. Because of your help, I escaped the fate of marrying into the third prince's residence. And I also found the husband I was destined to be with. Shining dared not accept Feng Yingshuang's thanks. She only knew that without Feng Yingshuang, the Shun Ying of today would not exist. But I heard that although Duke Qin has been sentenced to death, he keeps proclaiming his innocence. He keeps saying that the third prince is the real murderer of the crown prince, that the third prince has wild ambitions and wants to usurp the throne. But the emperor is already convinced that Duke Qin is the murderer and thinks he is just making baseless accusations, so he ignores him. It was under these circumstances that Feng Yingshuang quietly entered the prison cell where Duke Chun was being held. It was now the height of summer in July. The dark, underground prison was stuffy and hot, and mosquitoes, insects, rats, and ants appeared one after another. The air was thick with the earthy smell of straw, the metallic scent of blood left on the torture instruments, and a very pungent, foul stench of decay. It was the smell of rot and death, because every day, several corpses were dragged out of this prison. Feng Shuang looked at the scene before her, a complex expression flashing across her face. This was not the first time she had been to this prison. The familiar environment reminded her of everything she had experienced here in her past life. Back then, she had been framed by Nan Yuqian and Sue Manru, accused of various crimes, stripped of her title as empress, and thrown into the death row to suffer all kinds of torture. Feng Shuang's gaze swept over the torture instruments in the cell. Every single one of them had been stained with her blood. The pain, worse than death, still made her shudder to think about. Continuing forward, there was a blood-stained chopping block with a large cleaver lying on it. Her once scarred, miserable, and helpless handmaiden, Ruo Shui, had been held down by 2 guards. At the command of Nan Yuqian, dressed in his bright yellow dragon robe, the innocent and kind Ruo Shui met her end under that cleaver. Later, on the execution ground, Nan Yuqian gave a cold wave of his hand, and the 72 members of the Feng household fell in an instant. Every one of them was Feng Shuang's closest kin. That was a truly heart-wrenching, bone-deep pain. Thinking of this, a chilling glint flashed in Feng Shuang's eyes. She was someone who had died with hatred and was reborn for revenge. At the moment of her death, she swore that even if she became a vengeful ghost, she would never forgive anyone who had harmed her or the Feng family. Everything that happened today, they brought upon themselves. As for Nan Yuqian, just you wait. I will make sure you get the ending you deserve. The Chun family was about to have their entire clan executed. Yet, Feng Shuang came to visit the death row prisoners today. Chen Shuxian's eyes were filled with rage. Feng Shuang, I'll kill you. I'll kill you. Feng Shuang said with disdain, if you really had the power to kill someone just by shouting a few times, then your Chun family wouldn't be taking the fall for someone else, facing the execution of your entire clan. Hearing this, Duke Chen became very agitated. Miss Feng, do you already know something? You believe that we didn't conspire to murder the crown prince, that we were framed, don't you? Feng Shuang raised an eyebrow. What if I believe you? And what if I don't? Are you still hoping that I will save you? A bitter smile crossed Duke Chen's face. Miss Feng, although our 2 families have had many disagreements, there is no deep-seated hatred between us. I can apologize to you for all those things. But could you possibly find a way to seek justice for our Chen family? Feng Shuang smiled faintly. Duke Chun, you flatter me. Now that the wall is collapsing, everyone gives it a push. Corruption and bribery, selling official posts, whether you did them or not, all these baseless accusations have already been pinned on you. Besides, the one you supposedly killed was His Highness the Crown Prince. How could the Emperor possibly let go of the true culprit who murdered the Crown Prince? However, I came here today mainly to confirm one thing. Are you all really resigned to die? Don't you want to do something for yourselves before you die, so you can die with your eyes open? Hearing this, Duke Chen's expression changed instantly. What do you mean by that? Are you trying to use us to deal with the 3rd prince? You are truly a schemer. Although the one who framed him was the 3rd prince, he now had a feeling that both he and the 3rd prince had unwittingly fallen into this woman's trap, becoming pawns on her chessboard. If his daughter had half of Feng Shuang's intelligence, the Chen family wouldn't have fallen into such a pitiful state. The look in Feng Shuang's eyes was too sharp. It made Duke Chen's heart tremble. Right now, you must make a choice between 2 options. 1, your Chun family dies with resentment and goes down in infamy. The second is that you rest in peace, and I will naturally take care of the matter of revenge for you. I imagine Duke Chun, having navigated the court for decades, wouldn't have rashly cooperated with the 3rd prince without having an ace up your sleeve, right? Duke Chen finally sighed in resignation that it seems the new generation truly surpasses the old. Feng Shuang clearly wants to get secrets from his mouth to use against the 3rd prince. He did indeed still have a small faction of loyalists. At the same time, these people held evidence of the 3rd prince secretly recruiting troops and buying horses. But now that he was a falling wall everyone pushes, even if he presented these people, the emperor still wouldn't believe him, and it would also cost them their lives. That's why, until now, he hadn't used his hidden forces. Once he's dead, he'll know nothing. But if these forces were in Feng Yingxuang's hands, they would surely be very, very powerful for her. You win. You've successfully persuaded me. I am willing to make this deal with you. Chen Shuxian shouted from the side to stop him. Father, you mustn't believe this bitch's words. Our Chen family doesn't need her charity. Duke Chen asked in a stern voice. Are you not worried that our family will be misunderstood, wronged, and die in vain? Chen Shuxian was at a loss for words. Trembling, Duke Chen took a thumb ring from his hand and passed it to Feng Yingxuang. Feng Yingxuang reached out and took it, then furrowed her brow. This must be the token to command that faction. At this, Duke Chen took a step back and knelt solemnly, performing a grand salute to Feng Yingxuang. Please, clear the name of our Chen family and make the true culprit pay the price they deserve. Only then can my family rest in peace. Holding the thumb ring, Feng Yingxuang smiled knowingly. Rest assured, I, Feng Yingxuang, am a woman of my word. Song Yingxuang always had a question. Shouldn't men who are marshals and generals be burly and powerfully built? At the very least, they should have some scars from swords and blades. So why was Jun Machin, hailed as the god of war, so fair and smooth-skinned? His skin was even better than her own. How could he possibly look like a man who had charged across battlefields? The man frowned in displeasure and turned to look at her. What did you just call me? Fair and smooth-skinned. Isn't that used to describe those courtesans or eunuchs? How dare you use such words to describe your husband? Feng Yingxuang burst out laughing that I really didn't mean it like that. But your skin is so good, it's enough to make any woman jealous. Oomph. It seems I have been too merciful to my beloved consort these past few days. So tonight, I'll let you know whether or not I am a real man. Don't. I was just joking. Don't take it seriously. She didn't want to be exhausted to death. But then, Feng Yingxuang couldn't help but feel curious again. What did his face behind the mask truly look like? Since they were already husband and wife, there was no harm in seeing his face was there. She would absolutely not find him ugly. She was just afraid that if he disappeared one day, she wouldn't even be able to recognize him if she met him on the street. Song Yingxuang's hand slowly rose, its target the mask. But in the next second, her wrist was suddenly intercepted. What are you doing? I want to see your face, she said directly. Why this sudden curiosity? It's not sudden. I've always been curious. We are already husband and wife. What is there that I cannot accept? You're my husband. We should become the most familiar people to each other. I don't want to see this cold mask of yours all day long. Only the you beneath the mask is real. She stared intently into his eyes, trying to find a trace of an answer in his gaze. But unfortunately, from his eyes, she could not read any intention of him yielding. His gaze upon her grew even deeper. My beloved consort, I can do my best to satisfy any wish you have. But not now. Wait until this difficult situation has completely stabilized. Wait until all those unsightly people are gone. I will naturally take off this mask and let my beloved consort see. He spoke of such a simple matter with such gravity. Feng Yingxuang felt a sense of helplessness in her heart. She nodded. All right, then let us join hands to eliminate those enemies. After the dust settles, I will wait for you to be honest with me. She tried to get out of the bathtub, but he wrapped his arm around her waist, and she fell back into his embrace. This time, she was completely soaked to the bone. Jun Machin smiled faintly, with one more condition. Before that, you must serve me well. Otherwise, everything is off the table. Before Feng Yingxuang could even shout the word despicable, his kiss pressed down on her. What does it mean to suffer a double loss? Feng Yingxuang now had a profound understanding. Not only did she fail to find out what she wanted to know, but she also ended up being thoroughly drained. Since the case of the Crown Prince's sudden death, although the Duke Chen's family took the blame, Consort Li's heart was always in a state of unease. After all, having done something wrong, Consort Li always had a guilty conscience. Nan Yutian entered the palace to visit his mother consort. The emperor was gravely ill from excessive grief and had no heart to manage state affairs. The court ministers were fighting endlessly over the succession of the crown prince. Nan Yutian reported to his mother consort that he had arranged for Sue Manru to be a spy by Feng Yingxuang's side to gather information on their situation. Consort Li was stunned. Sue Manru? That woman who is more of a hindrance than a help? You still dare to use her. She has given us countless ideas before, but which one of them was successful? That time in the peach blossom forest, she almost cost you your life. Nan Yutian. Consortly truly wish she could have Sue Manru sliced into 1,000 pieces. Nan Yutian chuckled coldly. That woman truly doesn't know her place. Did she think that just because she was carrying my child, she could be fearless and flaunt her power in front of me? With her low and humble status, what right does she have to bear my child? So I had Wang Meiyuan directly force-feed her a pot of saffron. Now that she has ended up in such a miserable state, it will be easier to earn Feng Yingshuang's trust and gather more information. Consortly pondered, you forced her to drink safflower. Shouldn't she hate us for it? Why would she still be willing to work for us? Nan Yutian was full of confidence. Mother Consort, rest assured, that vain woman, Sue Manru, has no choice but to turn to us. I have promised her the position of imperial consort. Do you think she could resist such a temptation? Hearing this, Consortly felt it made sense, and hurriedly asked, has that foolish woman, Sue Manru, managed to find out any useful information? Nan Yutian's expression darkened. Feng Yingshuang already knows that we are secretly amassing a private army. Consort Li was instantly petrified. What? That is a capital crime. How can Feng Yingshuang be so treacherous? If Feng Yingshuang knows, then King Qingping and the second prince must also know. The three of them are in this together. Nan Yutian gave a cold smile. Mother Consort, do not be afraid. I wager that Feng Yingshuang has no concrete evidence. Otherwise, she would have already reported it to Father Emperor. I have already sent a carrier pigeon regarding the war situation in the states of Yin and Shao. Now, we just need to wait for the right moment for them to send troops to the border. At that time, King Qingping will have to return to the front lines to lead the army. No matter how capable he is, he cannot be in two places at once to deal with our affairs. If Father Emperor does not pass the throne to me, then I will take advantage of them fighting fiercely at the border to launch a coup. When that time comes, this southern Shu Empire will be ours. As Nan Yutian said these words, his eyes were filled with the light of desire and ambition. Consort Li was greatly satisfied with her son's grand ambitions. The emperor is barely hanging on. If he were to just pass away, it would be for the best. This current state of being half dead just drags things out, which is most disadvantageous to our cause. What if, right before he takes his last breath, he issues a decree to install the second prince as the crown prince? When that time comes, wouldn't we, mother and son, be placed in complete danger? What room would there be for a comeback? Nan Yutian thought about it carefully. This matter indeed cannot be delayed any longer. I will go visit Father Emperor now and try to get some information from him. At a time like this, he should at least reveal something. He should be aware of his own condition. Can he really wait until after he has passed away for the entire southern Shu to fall into chaos? The southern Shu dynasty was about to welcome a new crown prince. By the time the third prince, Nan Yutian, hurried to the emperor's chambers for a visit, the southern emperor was already breathing his last. From within the palace of heavenly purity came suppressed coughs of extreme pain. Consort Shu and Consort Xian stood guard by the bed, their eyes filled with heartache. Father Emperor, how is your health? Your son is so worried. I would rather fall ill in your place. The third prince, Nan Yutian, blurted out his false concern. Beside them, Consort Xian thought to herself, the emperor has been ill for so many days, yet I haven't seen Nan Yutian visit more than a few times. This is far too hypocritical. But the southern emperor's face no longer showed a sad expression. Instead, it carried a hint of a relieved smile, as if he was reminiscing about something truly beautiful that I will soon be reunited with them. Perhaps this is all fate. It turned out that the emperor was not afraid of death. On the contrary, he saw it as a form of release. Because the late empress and the crown prince were already dead, he was now eager to be reunited with them. Hearing these words, an extreme jealousy arose in Nan Yutian's heart. Yes, he was extremely jealous. Also being a prince, how could the southern emperor be so biased? In his eyes, there had only ever been the crown prince. When had he ever spared a glance for his son, Nan Yutian? In terms of affection, he lost to King Qingping. In terms of talent and appearance, he lost to the second prince. And that was fine. At least they were truly dragons among men. But the crown prince was nothing but a dull, ignorant fool. That he couldn't even surpass him. Nan Yutian felt an indescribable sense of frustration. Father Emperor, don't say such things. You still have me, your son, and second brother, fourth brother, and fifth brother, and younger sister Changlo. Father Emperor, can you bear to leave us? I'm proud to have a son like you. Right now, my body is failing. A country cannot be without a ruler for a single day. The matter of the heir must be considered. Nan Yutian's heart trembled. His heart was beating so fast with excitement, it could have jumped out of his chest. Father Emperor is praising me like this. Is he going to pass the throne to me? Mother Consort was right. If he could become the crown prince directly, who would want to rebel? But when he heard the next sentence, he almost collapsed to the ground. Right now, Southern Shu is beset by internal and external troubles and is in grave danger. We must have a capable and talented successor to manage the current situation. Although I've been bettered in these past few days, I've been constantly thinking about this problem. Among all the princes, only your second brother, Chen'er, is capable of shouldering this great responsibility. When Chen'er ascends the throne in the future, I hope you will assist him diligently. All of Nan Yutian's hopes instantly turn to ash. Even without the crown prince, there's still the second prince. All that talk about fatherly love and filial piety, so many sanctimonious words, yet this is the result he gives him. Just then, the second prince, Nan Yuchen, rushed over. The moment he entered the bedchamber, he firmly grasped Emperor Nan's hand. Father Emperor, your son has already begun supervising the state as you commanded. Please rest assured. When Nan Yutian heard this, he could barely stop himself from losing his temper on the spot. This old fool actually had the second prince act as regent behind my back. Emperor Nan slowly waved his hand. Bring the imperial edict and the seal. Today, we officially install the second prince, Nan Yuchen, as the crown prince. Offer sacrifices to heaven, establish the heir, nurture the foundation of the nation. Then he slowly glanced at Nan Yuqian. For the sake of Southern Shu's future, Yuqian, you must properly assist your imperial elder brother. Support the state and demonstrate your loyalty. Nan Yuqian respectfully bowed his head, putting on a loyal appearance, but a flash of unconcealed hatred crossed his eyes. You all force my hand. Don't blame me for disregarding brotherly bonds. As long as Prince Qingping is sent away, this Southern Shu will be my domain. The second prince, Nan Yuchen, ascended the throne and granted a general amnesty. But just then, war reports arrived from the border. Two nations had simultaneously launched an attack on Southern Shu. Amidst the flames of war, Prince Qingping, who held military power in Southern Shu, donned his armor and went south to battle. For a time, panic spread through the court of Southern Shu. To add a touch of joyous atmosphere to the court, Nan Yuchen decided to hold Shun Ying's grand investiture ceremony with extra pomp. And so, on this day under a clear sky, Shun Ying, dressed in a dignified, elegant, and magnificent phoenix robe, slowly walked out from Weiyang Palace to accept the obeisance of the high ministers. But at that moment, a guard, stained with blood, stumbled in from outside the hall. Your Majesty, the third prince is fighting his way in with his men. What? Everyone was plunged into extreme shock. Could it be that the third prince, Nan Yuqian, was staging a rebellion to seize the throne? This was all happening too suddenly, with absolutely no warning. The ministers were clearly unable to process it. Song Yingshuang hid behind the screen next to the dragon throne, watching everything coldly. She had been waiting for this exact opportune moment to expose Nan Yutian's true face in front of everyone, to bring his evil and crimes to light for all the world to see. Now, she had finally gotten her chance. Nan Yuchen said furiously, "Nonsense. Father Emperor has just passed. His body is barely cold. How could he commit such a treasonous act? How can he face Father Emperor's spirit in heaven?" Seeing no room for turning back, Nan Yuchen made a swift decision. Guards, immediately escort the Empress back to her palace. The rest of you, form ranks to meet the enemy. If the rebels dare to attack, kill them on sight. Half an hour later, a blood-soaked Nan Yuchen appeared before the ministers with his elite troops. Imperial brother, you probably never imagined that I would attend your grand ceremony in this manner, did you? Do you know what they say? The winner is king, the loser is a villain. The one who has the last laugh is the true winner. Nan Yuqian angrily rebuked him. Rebellion is a capital offense. Do you truly not value your life? But Nan Yuqian just sneered. Those who follow me will prosper, and those who oppose me shall perish. Today, I will kill everyone here, and then history will be written by me. His words sent a chill down the spines of the high ministers. This ruthless bastard doesn't just want the throne, he wants our old lives too. Nan Yuqian looked at him as if he were a stranger. Do you resent Father Emperor for leaving the throne to me? And that's why you plotted this drama to usurp the throne? Then can you explain to us whether the former crown prince's death had anything to do with you? His death back then was suspicious. A cup of poisoned wine on his wedding night ended his life. Was it your doing? Nan Yuqian threw his head back and laughed. He had already committed treason. What else would he not dare to admit? You're quite clever. That's right. The crown prince was indeed poisoned by a spy I planted. He was clearly a good-for-nothing. Yet he clung to the position of crown prince, monopolizing Father Emperor's favor. I have endured it for so many years, I couldn't endure it any longer. You should be thanking me. If he hadn't died, do you think the throne would have ever been yours? Upon hearing this, the ministers below were so shocked they couldn't find words to express it. What? So the crown prince was actually murdered by the third prince? But back then, the one who exposed and accused Duke Chun of poisoning the crown prince was the third prince himself. To think that Duke Chun and his family were wrongly executed. The third prince is truly vicious. Just then, a clear, cold, and charming voice was heard. Lan Yutian, the one who deserves to die the most is you. You colluded with the enemy and betrayed the country, forced the abdication to usurp the throne, and murdered the crown prince. Every one of these is a capital crime. A person like you doesn't deserve to live in this world. Lan Yutian's gaze was filled with sinister gloom. You still dare to show your face. Feng Shuang? This king will settle the score with you slowly. But a cold sneer appeared on the corner of Lan Yuqian's lips. Do you know what it means to not defy the will of heaven? Evil can never triumph over good. The heavens will never be on your side. And surely enough, not long after, a sudden scream was heard. Lan Yuqian immediately turned his head, only to see a shower of arrows whistling towards him from behind. His elite troops were struck by the arrows and fell one after another. Outside, the heaven-shaking sound of war drums echoed, mingled with the footsteps of thousands of soldiers and the thundering of hooves as they charged mightily in this direction. A general in silver armor, with a radiant and heroic demeanor, arrived as if riding the wind. It was none other than the god of war of his generation, King Qingping, Junmachin. He had long been in correspondence with the envoys of the two border nations. He had played along with Lan Yuqian's scheme, putting on a show while secretly setting up an ambush, waiting for this very day when Lan Yuqian's true colors were revealed to capture him in one fell swoop. Soon, King Qingping's army showed an overwhelming advantage. Lan Yuqian not only suffered a crushing defeat, but was also judged by all under the public eye. Lan Yuqian died. His death was extremely miserable, a complete and utter failure. He was dismembered by 5 horses, condemned by public opinion, and his name was tarnished for all of history. Consort Li was also thrown into the cold palace, to live out her days in solitude until her death. That scheming green tea, Sue Manru, was also utterly disgraced and despised by all, meeting a bleak end. Lan Yuqian and Shun Ying ascended to the thrones of emperor and empress, initiating a policy of peace and stability to allow the nation to recuperate. The Central Plains' decades-long conflict with the border regions came to an end. Junmachin and Feng Ningxuang retired to Juesha Palace. Later, Feng Ningxuang finally learned the truth. Junmachin was the master of Juesha Palace, Qinye Shui, the very same person from the crisis in the peach blossom forest. The man who had worked hard all night to cure Feng Ningxuang of the deadly lotus umbrella poison. And the reason the male lead was so fond of the female lead was that he was the reincarnation of a deity, while Feng Ningxuang possessed the fate of a phoenix. Thus, the two cherished one another. They felt like old friends from their very first meeting. Later, through their blissful and hard-working life together, the two had a chubby baby boy and named him Xiao'er. The main couple returned home, hand in hand, and lived a sweet and happy life together. And so, the story of Feng Mingxuang and Jun Machen comes to an end. The updates were a bit slow during this period due to issues with source material. I hope you all won't hold it against me. The next comic is a story about a girl who makes a comeback, earns a fortune, and becomes a rich woman. Cece will continue to bring everyone joy, sending you a screen full of flowers, wishing you all happiness every day.